Mama mea, s-a început live-ul, chat. Mai Jaxadeta. Să înceapă circul. Să înceapă... Ok. First of all, Esports World Cup. If somehow you get into my stream, I don't want to make money, I just want to view parties. So if I'm doing something wrong, please contact me. I will take the live stream myself down. There's no need for strike. You can demonetize me, you can copyright me, but no copyright strike. Thank you so much, Esports World Cup. I just want to support my Romanian friend Shxrk. He's playing. So if I'm doing something wrong, I'm sorry, Esports World Cup, but don't strike me. This is my job. I'm a full-time streamer. I'm jobless. So yeah, this is what I'm doing. So please do not strike my channel. If needed, I will take my live stream down myself. Just contact me via email, bro. Okay? Thank you so much, Esports World Cup. And now I'm gonna start making content with my community. So thank you, and God help us. Ha, let's go, bro. Mai Jaxadeta. Păi mă, dacă îmi dau ăștia strike, păi nu mai am ce mânca, ce aveți? Păi am uit. Dacă mi-au dat ăștia strike. Ce aveți, mă, că am uit de foame, nu mai pot. Nu mai zic. Nu mai zic. Ia. Ia, mă, uite ce intrai și fac ăștia, o. Bun. Ia uite ce intrai, o. Doamne, te rog să nu mai dea că ești, bro. Te rog, te rog, te rog, te rog să nu mai dea că ești. Atât îmi doresc.
Rainy and Nalu! Shadow and Virgo!
Ciao, bine ați venit, bro.
Edson and PH Zin! They are Foot Esports!
A intrat și Shxrk și Bug, a intrat toți, mă, când îmi dă mie că ești. Chat, am primit aprobare de la Dumnezeu. Uitați-vă la intro de la live ca să vedeți aprobarea.
Reject!
Mila Domnului. Să-mi ziceți dacă se aude pe tare, bro. Ai mică de scrie duțul, bro.
Phoenix and Retro! They are on it! Peterbot and Pollo!
Peterbot and Pollo! Let's go!
From Team Vanco!
Ah, am scris și titlul, că și dauleu. Hai scris, bro.
Alex and Reckless! They are power!
Gata.
Shxrk! And finally, Gino and Pablo Ingu from Team Vitality. 4 days of competition, $1 million on the line, and a chance to immortalize your names in the Esports World Cup totem.
Nous y sommes, la compétition Fortnite Reload pour marquer l'histoire de l'EWC en direct de Paris. Public, faites du bruit!
Hai mă, chat. Se aude ok? Se aude ok la chat?
To the Esports World Cup here in Paris. Now it's time to make history. 40 duels are here to make a name for themselves. With some of the most veteran players of all time here, will their experience prove useful?
These rookies are just learning the game. I know this game like no one else.
However, Reload will require not just technical ability,
puțin
but
taie.
innovation.
Ieșim mâine.
Is the
Să nu mai tai
veterans
live de la
time
Fortnite.
over? Is it now the time for newcomers to
Ia,
shine
se aude cum e acum, chat. Te auzi cam încet și stai să vorbesc pe taie. Acum cum e, chat?
My moment to shine. Everyone needs to watch their back.
Ok?
The new gen's got a lot to learn, and I'm gonna show them this weekend.
Ok.
We've got all of the world's best ready to fight it out, including the greatest of all-time contenders.
Bun.
I've been unbeatable for years.
Merge puțin mai tare, că dau o idee mai tare.
You can become a legend overnight.
Hai, cum e, chat?
Put in the work for years.
But this event could throw new names to the top.
Time for legends to go, and now it's my time.
Overcoming the pressure is not easy. One team will stand tall. And here, a big result
după
could
ce
make
leșea
all the
Queen.
difference.
Your 2025
Trebuie să vreau să dea mai tare.
It's time for the
Păi și
Fortnite
care e ăla cu cel mai
Reload
puțin spoiler,
Championship
Roviță?
at EWC 26.
Ăla de pe site-ul lor? E ăla cu cel mai puțin delay?
Welcome everybody to the Fortnite Reload Championship at the Esports World Cup 2026. Taco, we have 40 of the greatest teams from around the world all battling out for $1 million for a club championship, and what's most important for these guys, the bragging rights.
And look, it all boils down to who's even going to make
Păi,
it
lasă
through
așa,
groups
bă.
A and B, and
Lasă
knowing
așa
that
aici,
we're kicking
Oviță.
off today's competition with so many loaded duos. Jacob, it's going to be a
Lasă așa, bă.
ridiculous series of events throughout the
Intru
course of today's
pe ăla
matches,
oficial
and
să
everybody's of
plătească
course
ăștia un
keeping their
ban,
eye out
lasă
for some
așa.
of the lead ringers, but at the same time, you never know when an upset might just take place.
Yeah, and
N-ai
honestly,
nimic.
I
Cine se
usually
uită
talk
aici,
about
se uită
the
aici și
entirety
aia,
of the
bro.
tournament being more of a marathon and not a race. This event
Pe
is
Twitch e mai
more
bine,
so
oare?
that same case because you have 10 games today in the group stages, right? And that's way more than a lot of these guys have played in a single day of Fortnite in their life when it comes to competition. I know in the qualifiers we had 8 games throughout each and every one of those days, so 2 more games that leads me to believe that it's going to be the ones that who are mentally tough,
Mai
the
bine
ones
pe
that are
Twitch, pe
composed,
Twitch
that
ai
are going
delay?
to find their way into the top 7.
But kind of on the other note of that, you also have to remember with the additional 2 games in comparison to what we've been accustomed to, players have much more opportunity to really find that bounce back option. And when you think about the fact that there is still technically that secondary lifeline, as long as you find yourself not within the bottom 3 of today, you will have the chance to ultimately run it back. But obviously, honing back into where we are at currently, I think that there is plenty of teams that are certainly going to want to sprint their way to the top regardless.
Yeah,
Hai pe
especially,
Twitch.
you know, Shxrk, Teeny, you know, Peterbot+Alti, 3 wins each. So they have 6 out of the 8 wins for both EU and NA Central. And it's not just they're playing the games,
Bro,
it's
double donație,
how
bro.
they're playing these games. They're
Mersi frumos,
aggressive,
Luca,
they're
de donație,
dominant.
bro.
They don't leave any stone unturned, and that's something that I'm really...
Și cum îmi pun, mă? Twitch.
regions really start to get a little bit more involved and kind of remind the rest of the world, particularly everybody on social media, that they're here to show out. And obviously, all kick things off pretty hot here in match number 1. No surprises whatsoever. Pete and Pollo just doing their thing.
Yeah, and even in the feed, Braids just getting an early game elimination. Only one, because in reload, your teammates will have about 12 seconds. So if you go down, you're really relying on 12 seconds from your teammate to stay alive. They can shorten that time span with either Nox eliminations or full-on duo wipes, but that just puts the pressure on them to survive. And we're just kind of seeing a lot of the early games. You know, Pete, Pollo uncontested, Muzz and Sphinx on the other hand, the entire opposite. Typically throughout the qualifications process,
cine vrea să se uite cu noi chat aici? Cine vrea să se uite singur el să se uite direct acolo, bro. Mersi mult, Dragoș, de te-am dat bro. Ok. Mamă, dar reload-ul ăsta e nebunie rău, bro. E nebunie mai reload-ul ăsta, chat.
Obviously, they're not the only ones that are trying to secure some of those elimination points. 3 a pop can definitely make some lead.
Și ok, să-mi dau web-ul mai sus puțin.
That shotgun, it had no extra ammo in it, kind of slowing down the progression
se vede ok.
You know, game 1, typically, in a lot of the tournaments, especially our international events, it does kind of slow down just a little bit, but I'm not seeing it here in Reload. It's just constant action. Vico get elimination onto Rainy and Shari, now trying to play for a lurk onto Muzz and Sphinx, and this is the spot where I told you 4 teams are actually landing at.
And that's the thing there, Muzz Sphinx being fully aware of just how many other duos are actually surrounding them. They're definitely trying to be a little bit smart. Obviously, Shari going to reveal himself now. Khaled following suit, but Sphinx and Muzz, they are already locked down and secure inside of the building. It's going to be tough for Shari or Khaled to really find any sort of entry point, so they'll opt to create a little bit of distance here. Might actually cause for Muzz and Sphinx to focus a little bit more of their attention that way, because as duos start to get a move on, Muzz, Sphinx, they'll waste no time. Now looking to see if they can beam Khaled out of the air. Don't even give him that opportunity to properly rotate off the launch pad. And obviously, it's just going to get more complicated as the zones continue to pull further and further inward. But a little bit more settled over at hostile hold for Vico Alabuca.
I mean, when you literally have a quarter of the lobby landing on Elite Armory, it does kind of ease up the pressure elsewhere, and it kind of being used by not only Vico and Malabuca, but Rainy as well. They went down early on. They got separated, so he's the one buying all the time in the world. Muzz and Sphinx on the other side, trying to rotate away west of the Elite strongholds. They end up in a little bit of an altercation, one that does seem to be stalled out, though.
Part of the problem is PH in from a distance, actually going to snipe away Shari for Muzz and Sphinx's clutches. And a little bit of a disappointment maybe even for Muzz and Sphinx. They'll opt to drop for the loot. That does leave Khaled in a bit of an awkward position, obviously waiting for his duo to get back into the action, but now PH in, he's going to look to close that gap. Edson right behind him, and Muzz, Sphinx fully aware of the fact they might just have to pick up another fight.
One after the next, Edson, PHN. Again, this is one of the teams at the Elite Armory, and you see him using that grapple, just trying to bait and switch. But he just separated himself just a little bit too much from PHN. This could have been a great opportunity for Muzz and Sphinx to kind of peek out, but I know Muzz and Sphinx, especially when it comes to reload, they like to play a calm, cool, collected gameplay. They don't go elimination heavy and toward the end of the game when they almost have to.
Also just smart forcing that disengage, because when you looked at what PHN was rocking with, he didn't actually have a way back up that clip face without burning through every single one of his materials. So opt for the launchpad escape here. Rainy and Nolly though. Waiting to see whether or not they can capitalize on Cringe's early woes here. Volko's doing what he can to provide some cover fire, see if he can get his duo out of dodge. But right now, seems to be a success because Nalu definitely on the road to Cringe, going to start to make a revisit, but it turns back to their favor. Rainy and Nalu, just like that, come out on top, but at the same time, Volko still the healthiest of the bunch.
Yeah, we saw him drop to 5 HP before he finally got saved. And you got to give Nalu and Rainy a good credit right there to help each other out when they need it most, because that would have been the worst possible time for Nalu to get taken down, because you see how many more and more players are moving over in that direction. You can kind of see where the mini-map is at. The zone is pulling everybody over towards the western part of the map, towards Peerless Pier. And even though if it doesn't land over at that POI, Taco, we got to watch out for the mountainous edges that play a huge role in these end games.
Dacă mi-am pus pe mai sus. Și-a dat și mie un like, bro. Pe ediție câștigă meciul. Și dacă glitchești, dă-i... O, neue, nu știu, bro, chiar nu știu. Ah, I got no idea, bro.
Choosing to just continue wrapping around, following where these reboots are taking place. And if they can keep securing elimination points like that, it might force the hand of Shxrk and team to get a little bit more proactive on that aggressive front.
Yeah, even though for today's games, it is going to be top 7 qualified to the finals. It's almost like that. I think Barney said it, like the first impressions matter so much. When everybody else goes back to rewatch this, the other group that is probably watching it live now, they're going to try to pinpoint and expose some of those weaknesses. So you got to make sure you got to play as hard as you can the entire time, 4 straight days. We jump on board Peterbot and Pollo, and honestly, for both watching Shxrk and TD and Peterbot and Pollo here, 0 eliminations so far in this game. It's not something I expected to see, but they are a team that does like to play a little bit more calculated at times.
Name power certainly playing a little bit of a part here, lending towards their favor though, because who wants to really get all that up close and personal with those duos this early on for the competition? Rather just wait and see whether or not they decide to throw their names into the hat. But Chino, Pablo, crowd getting a little active for these two on-screen Vitality's representatives, and obviously a strong
Și noi dați și mie un like, bro. Unde-s like-ul aici?
some big things.
That's where they're currently
located. Hari and Cammy just on the other end, separate hill face now. But so far, everybody's in the clear. Teams are starting to hedge up in positions to block out others, though, caught inside of the storm for just one step too many. Now Pump, Epic Whale,
really trying to find
themselves not getting sandwiched between the two.
Yeah, and you can kind of see on the right side of your screen, these guys this weekend are playing more than just for themselves. They're playing for a club championship. If anybody can take down Team Falcon, it is going to be AGAL, which we will see tomorrow. Vitality in this game as well. So there's still plenty of this club championship points up for grabs. So all these Fortnite players, they're used to playing a little selfish, playing for themselves, but I think
ultimul procesor de la Intel sau de la AMD și ultima placă video de la AMD sau de la calculator aici de 4-5.000 de euro. Chiar nu cred că stai optimizările aici. Calculatoare de 4-5.000 de euro. Zic eu așa de la mine 100. Imposibil, bro. Hai nevoie de optimizare. Mamă, câte echipe stau în zonă, vedeți? Wow!
Teams that just suffered some of those early issues at the beginning of the match.
Părerea mea. Bă, maxim, uite, dau microfonul mai spre gură, așa, cum aud acum. Și că e funny, bro, e funny în toată Europa. Toată Europa e, bro. Nu am aici. Uite, e camera pe el, bro.
Knowing that there's only one duo that's actually been fully eliminated at this stage so far, Jacob, and we're already wrapping up
destul de mari de
that 7 zone. You have to remember, that's the point where if you lose your duo, or if you both get wiped, that's it. That's the end of the run, obviously, but knowing that you're going to lose that reboot opportunity, put a little bit more pressure on.
Yeah, and it's definitely going to be tough because if the qualifiers have taught us anything, you don't start to get placement points until essentially the end of the game. Zone 10, Zone 11, Zone 12.
Vă dați seama ce producția în spate, bă, băieții ăștia? De la IWC? Să fi fost și la turneu, sunt public aici, unde să fiu. Aia să zic dacă la el de tactică pic undeva sub pe după. Ah, da. O, 5 de pasa, 5 de pe slurp, o să se vadă puțin diferența pe slurp, cred.
Epic Whale Pump certainly doing a good job to be a little bit more evasive from the rest of the lobby.
E World Cup, Aghira, da.
Some strong positional fronts. Epic Pump, though, fully aware of the fact they're going to need to get a move on. Solid hustle so far from some of NAOS finest, but gotta watch your steps sometimes. Leva, Romero, Shadow, Virgo, so many other teams also making their approach. Everybody trying to really get based up more towards that high ground position because where the zone is pulling towards, but that's gonna force some other teams to sort of start getting entangled with each other and these engagements get really awkward,
Chat, deci, după meciul acesta o să ne uităm la game map, la locațiile unde se aterizează playerii, la ce player se joacă și, cum îi zice, la asta, efectiv la toate detaliile posibile de pe Twitter. Și a acceptat până la urmă, Abdul, uite-te la începutul live-ului, dacă ești curios să vezi dacă m-au acceptat. Logic că nu mi-au acceptat, dar ce am făcut și eu, chat, am pornit live-ul și am zis așa frumos, ca un băiat cu minte, ca un good boy, am zis la începutul live-ului: EWC, don't stag my livestream, if you want to take it down, contact me and I will take it down myself. Să nu-mi dea strike, da. Deci, cel mai oribil lucru pe care poți să-l iei e strike-ul, bro. Vă pup pe toți care ați intrat pe TikTok, bro. Nu uitați, dați și un follow și mâine este și sezonul nou, bro. Ia că pune un text.
Yeah, you can get that max pull, then you scratching your head, how am I going to make it all over these teams? And that's why I think elevation is definitely key.
Am pus și un text ăsta cu live-ul sezonul nou pe TikTok. Pentru persoane care poate nu știu că e sezonul nou pe TikTok.
Because it allows you to go higher, further, that low gravity, and you mix that with the shockwave, it's almost very little worry if you do end up with that max pull. So if you don't have it, definitely got to be careful. But as Taco was alluding to, 5 seconds, reboots will turn off, and that means it's essentially your last chance to make any mistakes
S-a oprit reboot-ul. Hopa, Tini cu Shxrk se uiteze destul de bine în spatele lui Power Alex. Nice, nice, nice.
While they'd initially been a little bit more isolated, Sphinx and Muzz immediately going to crash the party here, but Alex is the one who's really got to look out. Shxrk, they were trailing them since the start. Shxrk eats a little bit more damage than he should, but he's still got plenty of shield left to work with.
Băi, e greu, băi,
And the damage has already been done. Reckless, best of luck out there, buddy, because you're going to need it with so many other teams already starting to swarm onto his position. Shxrk, they're going to be so difficult to actually avoid their line of sight, and they're already fixated on the next move. They want to immediately send it towards high ground, and they're going to have the advantage of getting ahead of Mofu and Tama in the process.
Yeah, even though I'm a little surprised about their lack of aggression in the early game, they're a team that knows how to flip that switch, just like this one here. Shadow and Virgo progressively getting better each and every tournament throughout this year. They not only qualified for this event, they made sure to kind of take down some top teams all along that path. And now they're elevated just like everyone else. They see that the zone has pushed everyone.
Bă, Shxrk joacă foarte bine, bro.
And Chino even getting a knock on the
Mamă, s-a dat un knock.
How chaotic this end game is beginning to turn into.
Mulțumesc multe zi de donație pe TikTok.
An uphill battle, quite literally, for Cringe and Volca from the start. Pablo and Chino just continuing to add on to their problems, but that's going to be the setup that they needed. They've got a little bit of an opening, but they are making sure the lobby's focus is headed elsewhere. Reckless, though, just still so separated from everybody else.
Băi, se 90 pe live, nice. Dați-mi un like, chat.
You only have so many options, and now, as the congestion starts to fold on top of him,
câte grupe sunt? Sunt mai multe grupe, sunt mai multe zile. O să intrăm după meciul ăsta. Hai puțin, răbdare. Se loc e Shxrk, e pe moment, bro. E pe moment.
But now Shxrk,
Ezele, ezele, hai!
feeling some of that pain, loses pretty much all of his shield. He's gonna have to take a moment now to stop and heal.
Hai să vedem, bro.
Perfectly for the zone to pull in their favor. Every team, or at least relatively so, has to rotate in this direction, and they are just lighting things up. And because they're elevated so high up, all it's gonna take is one of those shockwaves to get to the front side of zone and maintain their position. And out it goes. They're gonna go ahead and try to hold on to it while continuously looking for more and more opportunities at damage and getting these players out of the lobby.
I like the fact that they actually cut that rotation a little bit short just so they could do, as you said,
cred că da. Dar nu e practic oficial World Cup-ul World Cup, bro.
Currently stuck, but it's temporary because they find a big knock onto Pump. Some damage has been done here for Vico and Malabuka as they're gonna now look to try and see whether or not they can break in towards where Cringe is at, but no, instead realizing positioning is going to be the clear intentions. And Shxrk and Teeny doing such an excellent job still of maintaining height. They're not really allowing anybody else the opportunity to even try and challenge them.
All it takes is one person to look up and a whole nother team to shockwave. Anything is still possible, but Peterbot.
Hai, Poio! Poio, pe burtă s-a dus.
He falls
Hai, cea, poate câștigă Shxrk, bro. Poate câștigă Shxrk, bro.
Definitely benefiting so heavily right now. 2 eliminations. Izzy right next to him, relatively healthy, but at the same time.
Bro, spoiler egal bani, bro. Aveți bani și da spoiler. Doamne, să câștige Shxrk, bro. Hai, hai, round, bro. Hai, Maz, cobută. No, hai, round, trebuie să câștige, bro. Trebuie să câștige, bro. Trebuie să câștige, bro. Hai, hai, că e meciul lui, bro. Bico e low. Hi, bro.
Isn't even really a factor yet, Jacob.
Yeah, I was thinking he's one of 4 solos. Seeing
Malibuca. Shxrk, be hai, go. Da, mă, da, hai, mă. Hai cu win-ul.
Being stuck in this end game is just complete madness.
Bro, hai cu win-ul, bro.
And Braids trying to control as much of the ground as possible. But you see 2 empty item slots digging into
hai cu win-ul, bro.
Relatively low to no materials. They're going to need a miracle if they're going to make a run for first in this game.
Right now, it's all about trying to see if they can even break through some of these pre-existing
hai, Cami. Cea, nu mai dați leak pe chat pe TikTok, bro. Ce atât de greu, bro. Nice. El încă stă pe high ground, da, e magic. E meciul lui, bro. Shxrk. Mamă, ce l-a păticinat pe sus. Ok. Se bate Starău aici pe low. Ok. Hai, Shxrk. Bombă. Uite-l, mă, pe EG. I-a dat cu rocket la un sus, ați văzut? Hai. Mamă, ce pai mi-au ăștia. E meciul lui Shxrk, bro, e meciul lui Shxrk. Meciul lui Shxrk. Ăștia s-au grifat. Nu pe ai cum e zon sau? Bucă. Mamă, ce mitică bună. Mamă, uită faza asta. Haide! Tini l-a bătut pe unul. Bro, let's go. Goofy. Hai, chat. Hai cu win-ul, Shxrk. Primul match, primul win pe scred. Și? Nice, nice, nice. 2v1, 2v1. Oh my god, bro. Oh my god, bro. Hai, hai. Win România, bro. Primul match, primul win, bro. Primul match, primul win, bro. Let's go, bro.
What I've been seeing all year long, Jacob. Shxrk and Tini.
Bro, double chat, bro.
Inside of Reload. These guys just understand
Let's
the game.
fucking go, chat.
Yeah, I was giving Virgo credit for
Primul
the
match,
start of this
primul
year,
win,
how
bro.
he's been playing, but I think Shxrk has
Nice,
to be
nice.
the player in Fortnite right now when it comes to progression, when it comes to building a legacy.
Nice, bro. Sună-l pe
3
Shxrk,
out
n-am
of 4
numărul, bro.
victories in the qualifiers, and they are looking unstoppable here today.
Definitely a pretty vicious zone, though, for so many of these teams. We saw
Fucking go, bro. Ce mândru sunt de el, bro.
The problem, it was just trying to make it up that mountain face in the first place. Anytime we've got zones that are pulling over elevation with that, especially when everyone is already so
Nice,
scuffed
bro.
on material, it just adds so many different types of complications, and obviously that
Bă,
can
ce
be
mândru
difficult
sunt
to overcome.
de
I mean,
românul
how
ăsta,
many
bro.
times did we see players overdriving, they find the knock, they find an elimination, but they couldn't even
Nice.
celebrate because immediately after, they still don't have time to actually pick up
Nice,
any
nice,
of the material
nice.
off the bodies, so they're just left out in the open.
Yeah, you kind of see big number of eliminations is what they usually have. They took a different approach to this game, but I think if they continue to feel comfortable, if they continue to put up these victory royales or consistently in the top 3 with eliminations, we could see a whole different beast come the end of the day.
It's wild to think about, too, knowing that there's still 9 other matches to work with. Obviously, it's hard not to get excited when you see...
Până încep meciurile, până se continuă meciurile, bro. Ideea e că ce vreau să vă rog pe toți. Pe live-ul celălalt nu s-a întâmplat asta. În primul rând să dați și voi un like. Bă, cei de pe TikTok, știu că este delay, boys. Știu că este delay. Dar nu mai dați spoiler, bro. Nu mai dați spoiler, ok? Sunt live pe 2 platforme, Vlad, da. Ideea e că eu nu pot să mă uit pe site-ul lor, că mi-e frică că o să-mi dea live-ul jos, bro. Așa că ne uităm cu puțin delay. Dacă vreți să vă uitați în timp real, puteți să nu vă uitați la live, că noi avem puțin delay. Sau nu vă uitați în timp real și ne uităm împreună cu toții pe live. Acum nu știu, alegerea este a voastră, bro. Vă pup pe toți de pe live, atât de pe aplicația Wish cât și de aici. Pentru cei care mă întrebați cine joacă azi, fiți atenți, cine joacă azi, asta e grupa de azi, ok? Asta e grupa de azi, bro. Și l-avem aici, în grupa de astăzi, pe Shxrk, Tâjino, Peterbot, băiatul ăsta de nu știu cum îl cheamă, bro. Pe mine nu mă deranjează, bro, că dați slick. Mi-e frică de ceilalți, bro, de pe live, să nu se simtă nașpa. Închide comentariile. Nu închid comentariile, bro. Ăștia joacă azi, bro, băieții din grupa asta, dar nu se vede și pe celălalt live, nu știu cum să fac, bro. Ok, cred că fac așa. Ăștia joacă azi, boys, ok? Ăștia joacă astăzi. Cât delay e pe live-ul nostru, cum ne uităm noi împreună chat, cred că-s vreo 5 minute, bro. Dar, repet, eu dacă mă uit pe live-ul lor, s-ar putea să-mi iau bani și nu vreau să-mi iau bani, bro. Bun. Ce mai vreau să vă arăt? Asta este grupa A, bro, ok? Fiți atenți. EWC Group A. Shxrk pe harta asta... Unde se landează? Se landează aici, în Dirty Dogs, ok? Îs 5 meciuri cu 5 meciuri, uite-te pe live-ul lui, clicks. What?
Seen that Boogaland performance in a good while.
Oh, and I'll tell you that.
He hasn't performed on LAN in a while though.
The difference that y'all have to understand is she was once a winner. So he's winning this weekend.
He's winning.
Was. Now Savage.
Mod pe TikTok dacă sunteți activi, bro, dacă sunteți activi.
Who you got winning?
Well, I think Shxrk.
Dacă sunteți activi, bro.
You know, I don't know where Clicks is getting Booga from. Yeah, I think he knows something that we don't, but I think it's gotta be Shxrk for sure. And I think those are the favorites alongside PM Poyo.
Mod pe TikTok activitate.
NA's winning, Clicks is saying.
I will put anything I love.
Clicks sta calificat, bro.
NA winning.
Mâine se schimbă harta puțin, așa, puțin.
When was the last time NA won a LAN tournament?
Nu uitați să dați și voi în chat follow, că apăreți pe ecran.
3 LANs ago.
2024.
3 years ago. 2 years ago. 2024. It's been a while, bro. It's been a while.
So we're saying NA. You're back in NA. Why are you not back in Peterbot and Poyo? They were the last LAN winners.
Because listen, Peterbot and Poyo, I do think they're gonna win, but I'm not gonna be like everybody else and say Peterbot and Poyo is gonna win. They're gonna have a great placement and they could win, but I'm telling you. Something about Booga, something about his energy and how he just doesn't
Booga, get the fuck out, bro. Dă-ne și nouă niște credit.
Alright. If you were
Spune și tu de Shxrk, bro.
Right? How well do you think you place?
Spune și tu de Shxrk.
I did play one season on NA, but
Bro, ce măcăne ăsta, mă, de aici? Ieși, mă, de aici.
Running back, I have a solid teammate. I think it would be. I'd outplace this guy, I think.
And Clicks, you'd win on EU, you reckon? If you play on EU,
ce zice ăsta, mă, aici, mă?
If I played on EU, we'd win with ease. And it's a harder region.
Bro, spoiler turneu, bro, gen.
Top NA players are better players.
Spoiler de la turneu, chat. Nu o să scrieți voi spoiler pe chat.
Legends on the stage,
Dar dacă
legends in the
spamați în
booth as well.
continuu, vă dați seama că
So
să lași
much
time, bro.
let's get back to the games.
Shxrk is one of half of Europe's deadliest duos heading into the Reload Championship, and one of the youngest players at the entire event.
Ai! Oh my god. Hai, mă. Bă, cum poți să mă uit chat fără să-mi dai reclamă? Cum poți să mă uit fără să-mi iau reclamă? Nu poți?
Espresso concentrat. Deschide, mixează și savurează.
Ai, ce să-mi fac? O să-mi pui datele.
Düsseldorf, Germany.
Ce o să fac? O să-mi pui datele.
No fluke, and the soft-spoken Romanian is coming in hot to the Reload Championship. In 2026, Shxrk arrived, but this event will decide if he is here to stay.
Băi, băgați și voi un like chat. Opa.
There are some good teams, but there are like smaller regions. So like the smaller
EWC, no Fortnite.
10 times easier than Europe. Generally the best reload duo. It's kinda easy to play with him. He's just doing everything for me. I just have to eliminate the people and that's it.
Yeah, checking. I'm on mid. Looking up. 0. Where's the jumper?
sure? No chicken. Oh, no chicken. I don't know. Something throwing me off here. I don't.
Nu știu, bă, lăsăm așa, nu...
Viv, I can't believe it.
Bro, voi realizați ce emoții sunt pe Shxrk, bro? Voi realizați ce emoții sunt pe Shxrk? Real vorbind?
There's really no reason to be surprised. We were coming into this competition. Shxrk and TD are
insane,
without a
bro.
doubt considered one of those strongest teams. I think it was me and you. We were watching the game back there together. We looked up. We saw them on the higher ground, and Zeke, quote unquote, went, "Oh, so Shxrk and TD, they just win this game." I mean, it's just so incredible how these guys can kind of show up to these in-person events and perform so consistent. I mean, they're new to stages like not completely new, but I mean, just recently have kind of entered every single time. Of course, this is just the group stage so far, but a first game win from Shxrk and TD, that's got to be huge.
Bro,
for not only their confidence, but also the momentum.
That's the word, right? Momentum. Being able to carry them through. Remember, we just saw them on Summit. They performed pretty well, right?
Shxrk locul în grup asta și
every
Sky în
time
celălalt.
players get on land, some of them have
Bro,
that experience,
chiar
some
sper să se
don't.
califice, bro.
And, dude, I'm not even gonna lie. Some for me who's been
Trebuie
doing
să
this for
fii
a long
acolo,
time.
nu
I'm getting a
puteam.
little nervous, right? You get to see the fans; they're super close. So think about these
Bă,
players.
da, l-a
being
ajutat
in
și
this
la din
environment,
Germania,
it's
auto
like, hey, there's
spun
a lot of
punct de vedere, bro.
expectations. There's a lot of prize money on the line. To just see them kind of get that VR.
Bro, Sorin, dacă intri pe live
momentum
iei
is
și mă
going
întrebează
to
dacă
be
te mai
huge
știu ce
for
vrei să
them.
spun, bro.
What about this game?
Vreau
Are
să
there things
fie
you
well
felt
did.
like you didn't expect in this last game?
Yeah, I mean, usually in Reload we see a lot of teams regionally when they are so dominant on their regions, respectively, they like to go ahead and send one of their players off to kind of find some of those early eliminations, but I don't think we saw
top 9
much of
se
that.
califică, nu?
We did it. We did it. I think what I didn't expect
Top
was
7,
to
nu mai
see
știu.
Peterbot and Pollo go down as early as they did. It kind of felt like a quieter game for them.
Deci, cum stă treaba cu acest World Cup? Sunt mai multe grupe, bro, ok? Sunt mai multe grupe. Asta e grupa A, grupa B. Și de aici top 7 în finală. Stai. Top 7 în finală. Ce între top 8 și top 17 se duce cum ar fi într-un last chance. Pe 21 august ai loc acest last chance. Ok. Și cam asta e, bro. Peterbot vs Shxrk, poate vedem, cine știe.
Bit nervous. I mean, obviously we were walking past some of the players, and I feel like the nerves are just that. Even when we were kind of taking a look at the walkouts, where was the energy at for all of our players?
Nu e sponsor.
You feel like it's just the nerves.
Nu e sponsor, dar nu mai deranja să mă sponsorizeze. Bă, n-am băut suc mai bun decât ăsta, bă. Decât Pepsi Zero zahăr cu lime. Bă, n-am băut suc mai bun decât ăsta toată viața mea. Mă credeți? Bro, mă duc și eu rapid să-mi iau de mâncare. Mă duc să-mi iau ceva de mâncare. Până mă întorc vreau să văd 100 de like-uri, bro, ok?
In that game one, I didn't have the performance I needed, especially
here
in front of these fans. They need to come back stronger in game number 2. They need to kind of pick up the pace.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's scary. When a team like Shxrk and TD do get that first win, not only does it help them out so much, but it feels scary being any of the other teams in a lot because you're like, whoa. These guys are very, very good, and they've kind of already figured out the formula here on land in the first single game. Like, are they just going to run away with it? Now, of course, it is the group stage, right? A little bit convenient that you do just need to get top 7. That's pretty much all we're fighting for here today. And, of course, not being in the bottom 3 as well. You don't want to get relegated here today. But, yeah, kind of seeing Shxrk and TD perform well, man. It might kind of, like, hurt the confidence of some of our other players.
It's probably going to light a fire in some. I'm thinking about Peterbot and Pollo, right? There's some duos on this stage that will see that win, and they'll think not even just Shxrk and TD, they'll think EU getting a win? Hold on a minute. We need to kind of slow things down and pull things away from that. I'm kind of curious, maybe someone look to drop on Shxrk and TD, change things up, maybe game to game. You did mention something, though. The bottom 3 will fall out. That's also got to be in the back of the minds of some of these duos thinking, maybe that game 1 didn't go my way. I'm one step closer to being in that bottom 3, and now I might waver or not. Some players might take this opportunity to really bounce back.
Yeah, we do enter the competition. We're like, whoa, we're playing 10 games here today. Like, it feels like so many. You know, obviously, typically when we play Battle Royale, we're used to 6. And then in the Reload Elite Series specifically, we only played 8. But now here today, 10 games. And, you know, these games, once every single one starts to go away, it's like, oh my gosh, we're almost done with the day.
That's right, man. You cannot let these get away from you, right? We really do have to make sure we're making every opportunity possible count. But I'm getting word. It is time to get back up to the casters and see what they're up to.
See, these guys from NA, and Jacob, yourself included, you're all acting so surprised. Me, this is just another day at the office when I really think about it. For Shxrk and Teeny, whether or not they can continue performing to that level, we'll have to wait and see. I wouldn't consider it much of a surprise to see those two continue to pop off, but it could be tough just racking up victory after victory royale, especially when you know that so many teams are going to be looking for those adaptations.
Yeah, and I noticed, you know, throughout the course of that game, the moment Shxrk and Teeny really took high ground, nobody looked up. Nobody had a chance to look up. Nobody even thought about, hey, maybe contest this high ground, which is wildly different than what we've seen so far. But let's check out the leaderboard with that victory royale. Shxrk and Teeny are in first place, and they have a 10-point lead.
And it might only continue to grow as a gap between some of these teams in the top 3 is where I'm drawing the most attention towards, because 45 to 60, you can make up for that with 5 eliminations, but you still have to be rather proactive. That could cause you to unnecessarily expose yourself to getting cleaned up in the process, because we know just how often teams like to sit inside of the storm. They like to wait it through until the partial zones really start coming into the fold, and then that's where we'll see teams kind of get a little bit more of their rhythm rolling. But I do think that it's a crucial discussing in terms of player nerves. We are seeing some first timers when your initial LAN event.
Locul nu l-a taptat până închid live-ul, primește follow back, bro.
Yeah, and I honestly think it's not just the newer players that have a little bit of those nerves. You know, I'm not saying that's the one and only reason why they went down, but you look at Peterbot and Pollo falling very, very early, especially it's kind of the out-of-character type performance for them. But we have seen it before. We've seen them miss an entire game and still end up at the top side of the leaderboard. But it just goes to show that I feel like whether if it's 1% or just maxed out, everybody here has some level of nerves. But it's not necessarily always a bad thing. It just shows you're passionate. It shows your drive, your dedication, and willingness to win.
And hey, to be fair to Pete and Pollo, we could see them sneak it up for 3-4 lobbies in a row out of today. Ooh, but they're not looking to do it, at least for this kickoff here against Izzy. That is a fast elimination for Pete to claim. Fearless Pierre, though, not entirely lonely, because Chino Pablo also looking to kind of stamp their mark at this POI is now Pete. Oh, won't be able to play Disruptor. Pablo is just too clean with it. The shot, he's feeling feisty. And I mean, look, Jacob, the only thing I was going to say about Pete Pollo is that it doesn't matter if they get eliminated super early on. They're a duo I would never be pressed about, because they can have their huge swing of events in just one lobby.
Yeah, and honestly, just a crazy shot there, but Peterbot kind of feeling a little bit more like himself, straying away from landing with Pollo. That way they can get these early game eliminations. Over on to the Armory. For last game, I was talking about 4 teams there. We actually had 5 teams at one point or another over at the Elite Armory. This time around, we have a few less teams, only 3 of them looking to actually contest that drop map. Just going to show that, hey, after game 1, we're already seeing a bunch of changes to the overall strategy, starting with some drop spots.
Things are getting a little bit rocky here right now, though, for Rainy and Nalu, as Cringe Volca continue trying to encroach on their position. They've already gotten Nalu one time, and they're looking to try and see just how many repeat elims they can truly rack up here. Unfortunately, they won't even get the chances. Now, elsewhere on the map, Phoenix and Retro. We saw them getting fraggy very early on. Looking to repeat that here in match 2. Taking out Vico, that's a pretty big contender. It's also going to force Malabuka's hand to play a little bit more passive early. They don't want to unnecessarily expose themselves to finding a too early of a departure.
And honestly, what I've noticed, though, is when looking at the leaderboard between games and even kind of seeing it here, it's out of our top 10 after that first game, we had 5 teams from the quote-unquote smaller regions, and that's why almost all weekend long, leading up to this, I was like, this is the best chance. NA West, OCE, Middle East, Asia, Brazil, this is the best chance they have to perform well in these in-person events, and you can't let that opportunity go to waste.
And let's keep it honest here, Jacob. We both saw what was taking place on socials. Everyone was pretty much ruling out the international competition. NA West, they're like, no shot. These guys are going to find themselves inside of a top 7. You see the occasional, yeah, maybe Oshi squeezes in, or maybe one of the Brazilian teams can try to fight their way through, but imagine if there's way more than that. They would certainly make day number 3 pretty interesting. But at least for right here, right now, Muzz, Sphinx, sticking to their original game plan that we saw them in the first match. Really not trying to stray too far from the other, when there are just so many other teams very prone to jumping at your throats at a moment's notice. They'd rather not risk it.
Gata,
They'd
cred că
rather
merge,
make sure
chat.
that they can stay together, see things through.
Seeing all the action go down. Shxrk, him and team honestly didn't have very many eliminations at this point in game one, and already is starting to add on to that 75-point total that they got in that last one. The winners of the game kind of proved to have a little bit of confidence, and you can kind of see Edson, PH-Sin, Mud Sphinx all staggering back over towards Elite Armory, and the main reason for that is because there's a launch pad, and it's not just a regular launch pad, it's a long launch pad. You combine that with a Fizz, it doesn't matter where the zone goes, that's what they're going to use to reach it in no time at all.
That's why I almost want to see whether or not Shxrk and Teeny, if they go for another aggressive early height take, that's probably going to be something that's keeping their heads on a swivel. Very likely that they're going to try and avoid letting anybody see them up top. And yeah, Pete rocking a very strong loadout right now.
Yeah, just a gold pump already. He has the combat SMG, and typically I would say that has a lot of recoil. It's kind of hard to use in certain situations, but it's P10, exactly. No worries there. Just got to kind of figure out how they're going to continue to kind of play this one out. Cami Hari, second place after that last game. Quick to start to rotate on over. And you're seeing kind of as the map shows right now, there's still a bunch of teams in and around the zone, but there's even more so outside. It's usually around zone 4, zone 5, and zone 6, where they typically start to move towards the actual zone, because that way they can make it safe for reboots turning off.
But I'm just looking at that dynamic between first place currently and the top 10 overall. Toma and Mofu currently sitting at just around 21 points versus Shxrk and Teeny with a whopping 78. It can be very difficult when you're just trying to commit towards playing catch-up, because we know top 7, that's going to be the priority, but it's hard not to sort of have it subconsciously sit on your mind. Hey, what if they just keep building up crazy leads like this? Who's going to be the ones to try and shut them out, shut them down? Because you give Shxrk and Teeny an inch, they'll take a mile. Yeah, and they're going to put themselves, if they continue in that trajectory, in a position to where they can kind of do what they want. They can play with the lobby before the 10th game is over. If they kind of give themselves a good enough gap. So see Shadow, Virgo, not necessarily in the best spot, kind of in a ravine in between two different mountain ranges. So even though you can be relatively good, 1 second things can change if teams notice you down there, especially since they are built in some of those weaker materials.
Nu știu de ce nu merge chat ăsta cu live-urile.
Uite pe tine. You're kind of seeing everybody around the map. The little different strategies. Some teams prioritize making it to zone quick, other teams prioritizing these launch pads in the flow very fizz.
I just love the fact that anytime we get the pan over of what Gino and Pablo are up to, it doesn't matter if they're box fighting or if they're just waiting for their super pad opportunity. You know Vitality fans are going to get rambunctious for these two, and that's just got to be such a great feeling as a player, because I'm sure they can feel that rumble on the stage, the vibrations of hearing everybody just supporting them so heavily. And that could also play a big part into what sort of momentum they're able to build on stage.
Asta e meta-ul, bro. Și nu uitați să dați și voi un mai like la live și un share.
They're already positioned near a launch pad, and Bugha has 2 more in his inventory, so that's going to be their primary mode of rotation. Using that with the very fizz. It's a little less riskier than those shockwaves, but you have a lot less of those launch pads, so shockwaves.
Bro, aș putea să mă uit pe Shxrk. Să mă uit în match, dar e delay foarte mare. Cred că 10 minute, nu știu, foai, extendă-mă. Dacă vreți să stăm numai pe ăla, nu cred că e baită.
Also just seeing things through. Malabuka though maybe sniffed out the fact Cami and Hadi were trying to get a little bit of an ambush here, but that sneak attempt will not actually yield anything of benefit. Malabuka just doing enough to sort of stave them off, discourage them from starting to try and re-aggress. But for where Cami and Hadi are headed next, Rainy Nalu, they could be following a similar pattern here, just sort of staking things out, waiting to see, will any unsuspecting victims just pull right up to where we need them to be to get the perfect shots lined up.
Almost seemed like a good opportunity for Rainy and Nalu to kind of lurk around. I think Nalu kind of moved at the last second, gave up the audio visuals, so Cami Har knew he was there, and they kind of made the right decision. Rotate away, get to a better spot, just keep things moving. Just don't stay stagnant at any one of these positions as we jump on board the southern portions of the map towards top tier training, where Pete and Pollo still have to figure out a way to rotate around. There's one team directly next to them that you do see in the mini-map, but in their path, Taco, there's 3 other teams as well, and one more coming from behind.
And the other problem that starts to sort of break out for these two is that you get one team taking shots at you, all of a sudden you might have 2, 3, 4 in the immediate area that decide that they just want to divert all of their attention towards you. And that was kind of what led to their demise. Even in that first lobby, we saw them with an uncharacteristic early game exit, but even if it's Pete and Pollo making up for lost time, it's still just so early on in this competition that you can't be too pressed or stressed out. But for Epic Whale and Pump, one elimination so far, taken to the skies. It's all about the rotations.
And you're seeing a bunch of teams start to utilize those shockwaves. The Shxrk.
O porcărie, chat. O porcărie, mi-a luat restricție 10 minute la live.
Allow them to save some resources outside of a med kit, of course. It's going to allow them to save those materials and kind of get the bird's eye view, figure out where teams are positioned at, where others are rotating to, and give them the best shot to rotate in. And that's exactly what they do again, game after game so far. Taco, they're one of the teams consistently elevating themselves off the low ground.
And with Teeny holding on to those 3 med kits, they won't be pressed anytime soon to actually restore their white HP. Pablo, Chino, Epic Whale, Pump, though, kind of staring down the barrel of each other, but it's going to be Pablo and Chino that are going to opt for a slightly earlier rotate. Already trying to make sure that they're set up for it. All edit comes through, and they'll start to get their move on. Epic Whale, Pump, also similar fashion, but these end games are just going to continue to be as stacked as ever. But again, only one duo that's been eliminated so far.
Yeah, and another one of the zones that has me kind of thinking, if you're not prepared for this to go southwest, I'm not sure you're preparing fast enough, because that's where the zone could potentially go. The teams that are already there. They're positioned up on that high ground. They don't necessarily have to drop off just yet, but that time will come if it goes over towards the east or towards the north, and I think that's where the majority of the lobby would love for it to pull. But Shxrk and Teeny right now, they're using their position as a moment and a chance to kind of look back. They see a no-sip. They're not too far away from the zone, but they still have to rotate towards it.
I think the main thing that's going to play a pretty big factor here, though, is like that drone-out shot had already shown. It's the elevation pivots, but it's also just the fact that this zone is pulling over rather open river area. And so you're going to have teams that are going to burn through a lot of materials very quickly, especially if those teams on height decide to sort of fixate more onto their locations. And that's definitely something that Chino, Pablo, you can see they're trying to sort of elevate their stature, make it appear as though they are incredibly healthy, which they are currently, but it could change at a moment's notice. They're not trying to get lobby just yet. Malibuca also, though, not willing to commit entirely to high ground, but still very content to be in this sort of middle ground territory where they could go up or they could go down, and where the next zone pool is headed.
N-am mâncat nimic toată ziua pe DC, nu mă nici bradă.
Reboots again are going to be turned off. We are reaching that 7th zone, which is why you've seen for the past 2 so far a more passive approach to the game plan, but it goes all the way towards the south. Not too much west lean on it, so we're going to have a huge opening towards the middle. But Pollo once again gets back-to-back games. Oh my, what was that? Malibuca, a grave mistake, getting his shield dropped off just like that.
Malibuca's lucky that nobody else was beating him at the exact same time. If it was a healthy Pete and Pollo, we might have seen something different take place entirely. Instead, Malibuca will be able to replenish some of his shield, but maybe a little careful there on the trigger finger for the rocket launcher, man, because that could be the end of a run if we were a little bit further
Poftă bună, eu mănânc sandwich. Tu, bă, am răspuns mai devreme la întrebare.
Elimination onto him. They were able to pick up that mythic pistol, put themselves in a good spot.
Mamă, dar ce setup-ul mișto, vedeți?
They realize both sides of this actual zone, there's little crevices, little sides, more so on the east, that you can build up on that elevation. And I think Pablo, Chino are going to be one of those teams that try to hold on to whatever high ground they can.
I like what Virgo and Shadow are starting to set up for. Buga Braids on the other end of the spectrum, though, have managed to find a slightly more isolated position, but just how long will it remain excluded from the rest of the lobby? Because I already tell, Buga sort of checking out.
Hai chat că se apropie endgame-ul.
Trying to ensure that they are going to be able to just utilize this next launch pad without taking too many focal shots in the process. But
spune-și tu că așa ești la Hero. Ei, dar ce mă plătesc pe mine extra să zic?
Probably pretty eager to get some freebies in.
Mă plătesc pe mine extra să le fac așa.
Still up, lurking around, trying to figure out what's going to be the right play. We go from that ravine down in towards the middle. You see where the zone is going towards the northwest. There's a whole mountain edge, and it's not them that you really have to be worried about. It's Shxrk and Teeny again on the high ground. Edson, PH in, and a couple other teams trying to use that launch pad to try to get away from the low ground, get away from the chaos, but they just run into one danger after another. Shxrk and Teeny.
Poor Muzz, man. He just never had a chance. That's the difference between taking the launch pad and Shxrk Teeny's strategy of just using the crash pad. They can still take those shots a much more feasible rate, and now they'll send it right back towards Edson. Fortunately, didn't get cut off along the way here, but now Pablo, Chino, just biding their time. Also gonna opt to drop back towards that low ground position. They will layer up just one more tier above where some of that low ground congestion is starting to build. It's all about the front side control here, and Izzy just getting beamed.
He splatted down. Oh no, Izzy, that was almost the worst case scenario. But luckily for him, he was able to get up, dust himself off, and at least stay alive. But Shxrk does it again. He's able to take down Goofy on the right side of this zone, though. Peterbot still trying to make a heroic run happen, but his back is truly up against the wall. No builds left. He's going to need a full elimination here onto anybody here to stay alive. Shockwaving again, staying to the front side of zone. He's just trying to be very calculated and precise. He knows he has one shot to make this one happen.
Just playing fully paranoid Fortnite when you really break it all down. But for Vico and Malabuka, they've got really solid control here currently in the lower layers. Pete still lurking about, hoping that he can catch somebody off guard. Other teams already getting caught up in their own exchanges that he could just look to play Jantorial through towards. But Pete might not get that opportunity.
Nu mai dați spoiler că vă las bani, bro.
They might be the ones to actually cut that run short, and when you really boil it down, Pete, he's gonna get the even trade with Hari. Just solo action.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough, but we have 10 games today, so they got 8 more opportunities to try to rise up the ranks. PHN down towards the side, Edson trying to keep their run going. Vico and Malabuka as well. 3 eliminations in this game. They're definitely trying to pick up the pace, especially for how that last one definitely went. Cringe able to get 2 onto Alex and Sphinx, but it's still Shxrk and Teeny on the high ground. And just like last game, nobody is looking up.
But with Vico and Malabuka having the RPGs, that could change in a heartbeat. All it takes is one good shot towards Shxrk and Teeny, force them sort of get a little bit more entangled with where the rest of the chaos is actually unfolding. But Malabuka and Vico first, they have to prioritize making sure that they are in a healthy enough position to fight. Mally gonna use up his last shield potion here, turn his attention towards his fragger Vico, who's able to claim Moda. Just no opportunities for anyone to squeeze their way into this front side position. Where they're at on the low ground, they're just cutting teams off every which way. Shadow and Virgo gonna find themselves also being cleaned up by the lobby.
Yeah, Retro is gonna be the one to take down Shadow and end the run of him and Virgo, keeping himself long, just putting NA West here on the back as Cringe goes down. Ramiro's getting elimination, but Vico and Malabuka are looking tough from that position. Shots coming in from all angles, but they're not slowing down, but neither
Pablo Wingu!
He's gonna fall, but all of those materials quickly going on over to Chino. He knows this is the last hope that he has in this game. He's one of few solos left alive in the world.
Unde e omul nostru chat?
It doesn't help that it's Vico and Malabuka who are just over ahead of him. Fortunately for Chino, their vision for the time being.
No.
There's the first job. He only has 2 builds though. He's going up. He's trying to match Teeny, but Teeny getting the exchange. They'll get some more damage than I'll be
Malibuka, du-te.
The moment that he turns back,
da, mă, Shxrk!
He's taken out.
Bravo, chill.
Follow-up to protect his IDL.
Takes a huge fight out of the competition. That is their high ground. Where if you look to take it, even Vico's gonna fall on the Lewa shortly after our final 4 teams, and Shxrk and Teeny are on the map again. They're on their throne, looking down. Teeny's gonna drop. They almost have no choice. No builds left. This is anybody's shot to finally end the run. Teeny's gonna fall. Shxrk has only hope to go to the backside of zone.
locul 4.
Retro feeling really good about this one. He just needs to close out against Tomac.
Dar nu mă interesează cine câștigă, bro, dacă nu e omul nostru. GG, bro. GG's, bro. Poți să pun niște atârsul.
This is a team I have been talking about all year long, saying they have to
dar vedeți ce tastatura e băiatul meu?
Week after week, I'm trying to put them in the moment.
Vedeți ce tastatura e băiatul meu? Ia uite ce tastatura are.
Again, they qualified to EWC, they qualified to the Global Championship, and now they win a game.
Ce tastatura e băiatul nostru?
Always awesome to see some of these other regions get their flowers
in
the moment. It was definitely a hard-fought battle, but also want to give a big kudos there to Mofu and Tomac, some of the youngest competitors in the day's competition. They are 14 each, okay? And then you think about the fact that we've got players like Epic Well with a 10-year gap distance. And so you're kind of getting the best of both worlds here in today's competition, but considered for stamping themselves and opening things up big time. That's all Phoenix and Retro.
And it definitely has to be feeling good, especially the way they did it. No builds on the low ground. Phoenix with a sliver of HP. And look at these moves. When they realized it was a 2v1, they just went absolutely hammered, making sure to just break him down off of his pedestal and eventually lead to them getting the elimination and the victory royale. And it has me thinking, like, what does that do to the leaderboard after 2 games?
Exactly, because we saw a pretty big shift there too. From the Brazilian squadron, you know, them solidifying that second place position, that's going to be a pretty big catapult, and it's also going to be something that keeps them in contention, especially for that top 7 territory. But when you see Shxrk and Tini maintaining these strong end game positions, it starts to...
Dar Paul 2 pe ce se uită chat? Se uită tot pe ăsta? Sau ăsta, cum îi zice? OCNTX. Pe ce se uită, bro? Se uită de pe site-ul ăsta lor? Pe site se uită? Hai mă, ce se poate întâmpla dacă ne uităm și noi pe site, nu? Ne uităm pe site? Mersi mult, dragoși, de donații, bro.
But ultimately, they are very clearly studied in the ways of reload, and it's just a big part of the reason to it is obviously Tini leading the charge on the high ground and Shxrk just getting to go buck wild in his fragging capabilities. And I just think it makes so much sense when you see how it's been so problematic for a lot of other teams to kind of even navigate through those lower layers. But at the same time, Jacob, if we keep seeing shakeups like this in back-to-back lobbies, you never know what's going to happen next. You never know who's actually into that top 7 or who's looking to try and hold on to it. But one thing's for sure, everyone is looking to try and avoid getting relegated here in day 1. So bottom 3 is the only spot that you don't want to be.
Man, interesting enough. One team in that bottom 3 is a team that we all thought would be in the top 3 at the end of the entire thing. Peterbot and Pollo. We have to talk about because we just haven't seen the 2 guys that have dominated an entire region for years show up here yet today. Peterbot had a moment there as a solo, but as you know, reload is just so chaotic. It's hard to survive in some of those moments, and so we're just going to need a huge pick-me-up game from them.
Okay, look, we're talking about though Pollo, but what we just witnessed out of Shxrk, 2 quick eliminations, and he's looking to rack up even more to the count. Absolutely no slowing him down. That is until Braids decides to be the counter. Shxrk's run of fun is going to be cut a little bit short-lived here, and Braids, Booga are going to start to work their way on the board with those 3 elimination points. And considering that they're only rocking 36 as is in the 3rd lobby, Jacob, they know they definitely got to try and start stepping things up.
Yeah, right there from Shxrk, I told you, once you start to build yourself a little bit of a cushion, you start to feel yourself, you start to build that confidence. And honestly, if I'm Tini, I just say, go ahead, do what you want. Do what you want the entire game here in this one. See how we can continue to rise up the rankings. Phoenix Retro across from Cringe and Voco here. They were the winners of that last game, trying to close the gap. Peterbot gets elimination onto Braids. Again, reload. I love this game mode. Just constant action
Bro,
all day long.
Darius, îți iei ban dacă dai leak la meci, bro. Hai că dacă aveți minte de aia nebună, dacă aveți minte de aia nebună, cu 5 minute înainte să se termine meciul la noi, să intri pe Fortnite că să vezi rezultatul, să scrii în chat. Dacă aveți minte de aia bolnav așa. Da, vă luați bani. Asta e ideea. Asta e ideea, bro, cu spoiler. Și este caz tot hazul la oamenii de pe live.
EXN not going to be able to connect the dots just yet, and Shari will be able to find himself in a slightly more secured spot, but teams are definitely still lingering, trying to see whether or not they can actually find a nice little entry point. All you need is the one elimination, then you can keep trying to recycle farming those reboot opportunities, and that's exactly what Malibuka is trying to avoid here, but Nalu just not letting up on the pressure. Malibuka already in a rough spot, given that he just came back into the lobby after that early exit, so Mali hoping that somehow, some way, somebody can get a bailout opportunity.
Nope, not this time, Nalu. Rainier going to take down Malibuka. Starting off here, Vico not too far away. And honestly, watch the feed last game. Malibuka did go down early on, but they were able to kind of bring it back and show that they're not going to get pushed over easy. But Vico literally not too far away. Malibuka's going to spawn right above him. But Nalu, Rainy aren't able to land any shots there to get another quick down. But they have to know that Vico is somewhere nearby because of where he actually rebooted in from.
A little bit of a break though for Malibuka. See whether or not he's actually able to get his feet underneath him, since he was able to touch back onto the ground at least. But Pablo, Chino, in full control of Fearless Pier currently, as they start to make their way, trending over towards the next edge of the zone. Bound to stay on the lookout though for reboot farm opportunities. That's really going to be the number one priority for a lot of these teams here. Just kind of understanding the fact that they don't need to overexpose themselves. They can just look for easy shots.
să-ți dau gift pe Fortnite, îmi pare rău. Dar dacă ești activ pe live-urile mele, o să ai noroc, poate să câștigi gift.
Even some getting rebooted. About how you assess the situation. Take a look at Shxrk doing here early on. Not too much movement after the first two eliminations. Kind of staying near and around for actual POI, making sure to farm up, getting the Flowberry Fizz. A lot of the tools that they need to have a successful game here. We've already seen two. Even though they didn't win that last one, they got relatively close. They were taking high ground again, game after game. Nobody has been looking up to contest that high ground team. I want to call for that moment. Hopefully somebody finds it in them, because it's what we did see in the qualifiers.
It just becomes so difficult though, because whether it's using those launch pads plus the Fizz, whether it's using the crash pads plus the Fizz, it's just really hard to try and lock Shxrk and Teeny down. But Kamihari, they got other problems they're trying to work through as Epic, Will, and Pomp find themselves caught in a little bit of action here with Z-Dog and Goofy, but this one is going to seemingly fizzle out a bit. Epic, Will, and Pomp will be able to take the supply drop. Not exactly an abundance of loot there, and Goofy, Z-Dog, they're actually going to be the main ones to sort of walk away from that exchange pretty healthy, but also looking to see whether or not they can even find other opportunities to get the points stacked up a little bit more.
Yeah, it's definitely not easy, but you can kind of see that they're able to find exotics in reload. If you guys don't know, we have exotics, we have mythics, we have everything that you could possibly ask for and more in this one, so you're going to be able to utilize that one. It does come with a little bit of effect to kind of help them boost their game plan just a little bit better. Rotate around. Early game for Braids has been successful, able to find at least one elimination here again. There's no Storm Surge in reload.
Bă, mă deranjează că ascult și eu gen, nu prea vorbesc atât de mult.
Oh, for sure. And not only that, but it can be a great way to sort of make up for misplacement points, because with elims being 3 points apiece, look, it's not exactly an overabundance, but if you have just one pop-off game, say 7 or 8 eliminations total, which is rather feasible if you're able to just hunt down and hop over a player that's trying to just get back into the action off of the reboot cycle. You never know, that might just be the actual game changer here. Shadow and Virgo, though, definitely waiting for a chance, but Vico getting a nice little replay package
Să închidem chat-ul, să fim atenți. Nu știu, Peterbot e wash, nu e beo, dar... Tu parcă jucai mâine? Da, da, da. Da, dacă nu știați, eu o să joc la turneul ăsta mâine, dar mă urc când plec în mașină în seara asta, știi? Plec în mașină în seara asta. Mersi mult, Ștefan, de bro.
Trying to be very, very careful. The zone is there. There's no reason to take the big risk just yet. Still only with that one elimination, so a slow start to the overall tournament.
Dar pe Elibeu sunt sponsorizat de Stinsis. Dacă e 200 de mega, așa cred. E foarte bun. Joci de la Nibiru. Bă, poate facem un live de la Nibiru. Vă dau Miley, câștigă meciul vechi. Crazy. La ce să-mi dau spoiler la meci, mamă, da. Ce echipă e asta, mă? FYT. Aoleu. Ce echipă e aceasta? Ce echipă e aceasta? Mulțumesc foarte frumos de follow, Maia. Mulțumesc frumos de follow. Și Ionuț. Vă mulțumesc, bro.
Hey, Pete and Poyo are
da,
known for going after the team in first place. Top for the leaderboard, that could have been a good shot to try to close the gap. But Shxrk just as aggressive, just as dangerous, not too far away. And to see on the minimap, there's not too many teams nearby, but that's okay for them. They just want to continuously rotate in. As long as they have the extra med kits and the white HP heals, they can spend an extended amount of time into the storm. And you can see why they're playing relatively safe as opposed to full-on aggressive. We're already in the big zone. Yes, you can reboot, but Taco, where are you going to go? What are you going to get if you end up going down here?
You're going straight into the elimination tally for another duo nearby. There is just very little wiggle room to actually try and escape some of that pressure, but think back to what P and Poyo were trying to do, getting a little bit more active against the likes of Shxrk and Teeny. You got to be careful what you wish for sometimes, because Shxrk and Teeny not exactly the sort to sort of shy away from any kind of fight.
De la ei, de la mama lor și unul prin canalul de la Fortnite. Pentru moderatorul universul, bine zic, bine zic.
But for the most part, they are still in a position where they can have a very solid run
dacă mi-ai dat un give, dau la persoane foarte active. Dar uite, pentru cei care cumpărați Battle Pass-ul mâine, Battle Pass, dacă luați cu vechi până 2 pe show, o să intrați într-un giveaway unde câștigați un gift. Ce veți voi de pe show? Dar trebuie să trimiteți să mai și să mai dați dovadă.
And this is something where he can spray. There's over 50 medium bullets in that clip, and he can just spray and spray and spray. And then if they do peek, he has the mythic hand cannon, and that's not mentioning anything that might be in Malibuca's loadout either. So if there's any game I would love to see them on high ground, this is the one.
Mai încolo, bă, zic eu că să le
to try and take it again from Shxrk and Teeny. Might have gone south one time already, but you might be able to get your lick back. You never know. Still, Izzy, Nosif, revisiting exactly where we left off with the Frenchies as they're now waiting to see buildings clear. You're good to go. But there's no rush. Gotta have a little bit of patience when you're trying to orient yourself. Especially when you know that the way that the zone is pooling, a lot of buildings that teams could already be kind of huddling around
eu trebuie să mă duc cu mașina la mecanic la ora 7, da? Ce fac cu live-ul la ora 7? Îl închid sau îl las pornit? Și vă uitați voi. Dar nu că-i pot să-mi iau bani, cred că. Nu știu. Îl lași? Dă puțin mai încet.
And it almost happens in every single one of the end games, no matter what side of the map we go on. This might be one of these first ones, but I'm crossing my fingers. I don't
nu știu, îl iau pe Rusu, pe cineva de pe chat-ul moderator ceva și vorbește el în locul meu.
But for Shxrk and Teeny, you could see them starting to climb up that ladder. We've seen them on high ground in game 1. We've seen it again in game 2, and it's looking like we might see it again here in game 3.
A big part of the reason why it's so hard to hide from these guys is that they are just super aware. They are constantly checking every single one of their angles and always looking up. In a meta where we know that it is quite prevalent to utilize the crash pads and the fizzes or the fizz into the lost magic. When you've got players that are as hyper fixated on clearing out the skies and with the aim to do it too, That's what makes Shxrk and Teeny just a whole different type of beast to
Uite-te și tu ce
contend
bine joacă.
with. Currently, Shxrk still holding on to
Nu
those
știu cât
early two
de...
eliminations,
E ok
but
așa chat?
the damage
Sonorul?
may have already been done. Given that
Ia
they
uite,
are
mă,
in
pe
one of the
băieții
best
noștri,
positions
mă.
currently on this lobby, it's all
Uite,
going to
pe
depend
băieții
on
noștri,
whether or
bă.
not they can continue to clear these paths forward. As long as they get these little pot shots in,
Mâncarea șăguița
taking
lui.
some of the other teams ahead of them, they'll be able to hold on to their high ground position.
Yeah, and this next zone here,
Care
most of it
șăguița lui.
is low ground. There's not too many mountains, but there's a little bit of a crevice. You can see it there in the mini-map, literally at the middle of the...
And can they avoid the exchange from somebody else on the other end of the barrel? But it's a no-go for Peterbot. He's going to get brought down inside the underbelly of this lobby. Is now Booga Braids also on just one build, hoping that it's not going to be their last.
Yeah, just everybody kind of feeling how chaotic the end game has been. They're just burning through their materials. Even after they get an elimination, pick up the Siphon, they're almost immediately down to 0 as Booga picks up that one onto Epic. Well, Vico goes down, but it might be a sacrifice to draw attention away from Malabuka, allow him to start that heal off. With 9 teams left, Taco, make it 8. There's 2 solos running around that are the wild cards.
Izzy and Nosif might have been forced to drop from high ground, but at the same time, they are still making their presence known inside of those lower layers, doing a great job at staving everyone else in the lobby, preventing anyone from actually cutting through their builds, and Nosif finding another one onto Goofy. The Siphon material going to pay so heavily for him. In fact, Goofy, D-Dog, is going to be able to get away just like that. Izzy and Nosif with 9 eliminations already.
Yeah, the French fighters are doing it and doing it well. They're trying to go into double digits. That's 30 points off eliminations alone. If they can make that a possibility, and they're soaring into the top 5, make it top 4. Braids and Booga on the other side, and they get cut short yet again. Izzy and Nosif, 11 eliminations here, but their biggest challenge has yet to be fought. It's Shxrk, it's Teeny, and Shxrk is already jumping down below. He's trying to take the fight by himself. I don't know if Teeny got the memo because he's just a little bit too late to the fight. Izzy taking a lot of damage, finally lands a shot onto Teeny, trying to disrupt the flow that they have going on. Shxrk returns to the scene of the crime, and it's not going to be enough. Izzy and Nosif do it for France.
You can tell that Shxrk and Teeny are not happy about how that one actually ended up, but they are cheesing for Izzy and Nosif. It was just a dominoes effect for this duo. The moment that we saw them with those initial 3-4 eliminations, and then the tally just didn't stop. But what a well-played endgame out of these two. They were really firing off on all cylinders, and the way that they synergized their shots together on the low ground, that's what really brought everything together.
And there's one thing for sure. When I do my predictions online, I openly tell people, take it with a grain of salt. I pick with my emotions, my heart. And I was even talking to you, I was like, there's something about Izzy and Nosif. They've been playing well recently. They've been flying under the radar, squeaking in. I don't think people give these guys the respect that they deserve with how well they've been playing in some of these big moments.
It's just crazy to think about the favorable formats. You would almost think for Izzy and Nosif, ever since we saw them make their debut at the Summit LAN, it seems like these guys just knew that they had so much more left in the tank to give, and it's so crazy to see them bring home game number 3, because these early breakout points, that's what's really going to help funnel into maintaining position inside of the top 7 by the end of today.
Just big moments there. Shxrk and Teeny, though, we saw it in the first 2 games. No team kind of went for high ground, but they did. Let's listen to Izzy and Nosif.
Essaie de build, s'il te plaît. 0-0. Ok, je monte. Bye. Je marche pas. Bye. Passe. Ok, nice. J'attends le deuxième, je suis sur le top. Ok, faut l'enculer, mort. Nice. Nice, frère.
It's such a great job there. I love also the way that they read it like a book. Shxrk and Teeny were trying to stagger the way that they actually made their approach, but Izzy and Nosif just did such a great job, one after the other, not allowing any weaknesses in their defenses there.
Yeah, honestly, just the way they've been playing. They have the crowd on their side. Almost anytime you were talking about Pablo and Chino, anytime they're on screen, anytime they're picking up eliminations, they have the entire crowd erupting. But just the big thing to notice, I know at one point we saw 11 eliminations. I'm not sure if they got a couple more on Shxrk Teeny or if I just saw the total at the end. But either way, Taco, that is a minimum of 33 points off straight eliminations alone. When we get to see the leaderboard, I expect to see this team near the top 10 at least.
They've definitely boomed the leaderboard. That is a given. And not only that, but I think that they've kind of proven as well to other teams in this lobby, because when you look at what their score was at the start of this game, they were right around that 30-point section. It wasn't really necessarily what they were hoping for, but obviously we've also got a direct interview with these guys on the scene, so let's hear it.
Thank y'all so much. Fun little fact here. We've got Phoenix, we've got Retro. This is actually their first LAN ever. Guys, how does it feel to be your first LAN in this kind of context with this crowd? Let me know.
It feels great. The pressure is definitely high, but it's nice to be doing well when we're conned and it's going rough off spawn, but we're still able to make it into endgame and make the games that we have count.
What about you?
I'm just trying to not psych myself out and, play how we normally play and just perform the best we can.
How do you guys do that? How do you make sure that in these high pressure situations, because anytime something happens, you're hearing the crowd, they're right there. So how do you stay locked in those moments?
I just try to tune out the noise and I just pretend like I'm playing at home in my own environment, and it works.
Obviously, this is a big moment for you guys. First LAN and a VR, massive for you in terms of momentum. I'm sure there are people going to be watching you thinking, hold on, we should be their fans. What would you guys say to those fans?
I just want to thank everyone for supporting me, and I would like to, just kind of appreciate everyone who's supported me this, so far.
You?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everyone that supported me and believed in me from the start, and yeah,
You can hear them. They're already going crazy for y'all. Talk to me about, you guys talked about being conned though, okay? So what's the plan? How are we looking to address that? Are we looking to maybe change things up? You don't have to give away too much, but what are we thinking?
I mean, it's been working fine so far. So we're just gonna keep playing it. They aren't 50ing us, so it's a little difficult to bring the fight to them. But going into Slurp Rush in the next couple games, we're unconned, so it's looking pretty good for us.
Unconned. That's gotta be a big shift, right? Is that what you're hoping and looking forward to?
Yeah, we went into the tourney hoping that we were unconned, and we were conned. But, sometimes things don't go your way, and we're just playing our game and seeing how things go.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much. Best of luck in Slurp Rush and being uncontested for now. We'll go to a short break. We'll see you in just a minute.
Da, mă, geatule, vă pup. Îmi cer și eu scuze de la calculatorul meu, care a decis să ia o pauză de la live. Îmi cer scuze, chat. Acum sper că mă auziți. Opa. Sper că live-ul merge, da? Merge.
EWC Play is your all-in-one platform to compete in fantasy, pick'em, and quest for a grand total of $300,000 in prize pool.
Da. Uite, stăteam și eu așa chat frumos. Cum mă vedeți voi aici la PC? Băia, chipeși. Așa. Stăteam așa frumos. Bă, și nu înțelegeam eu o chestie. Nu prea mai scria nimeni pe chat. Am zis, bă, ok, poate nu e un momentul oportun să scrie lumea pe chat. Și după aia mă uit în monitorul secundar și am văzut că suntem așa. Dau de 2 ori de mouse. Dau de 2 ori de mouse pe monitorul secundar. Mouse-ul. Și ce am făcut? Dat un pumn în calculator. I-a dat restart.
But Noziv and Easy, baby, to be able to
cine a câștigat chat meciul?
Kelly,
Că nici n-am fost atent.
Welcome back. We finally decided to come inside, but this match, I mean, for this squad, especially that just ended up winning, being able to bounce back too from those first two matches.
I mean, for Izzy and Noziv, this is incredible stuff. Because as Levin knows, big EU connoisseur himself, it was all about qualifier for these guys. It was an incredible clutch for them. They actually made it to the EWC, so it took them all the way into that last qualifier to actually make it here. And then to show up in game number 3 and get that win, and now sit and
deserved with how well they've been playing in some of these big moments.
It's just crazy to think about the
deserve. It's Shxrk. It's Teeny.
Yeah.
Shxrk is already
Bă,
jumping
dar
down
domină
below.
băiatul.
He's trying to take the fight by himself. I don't know if Teeny got the memo because he's just a little bit too late.
Bă, scam low, scam low. Tini, nu, Tini.
Trying to disrupt the flow that they have going on.
1v1.
Returns to the scene of the crime.
Wow, săracul nici n-a apucat să facă nimic, bro.
Do it for France.
You can tell that Shxrk and Teeny are not happy about
Dar distanțatura e românaș și nostru. Da, mă, da. Mă, ce bătaie de joc. Leven, voiul meu. Voiul meu.
The second these guys were on height, the second these guys were doing anything good, they were jumping, cheering, shouting. You just love to see the support they're getting right now.
You definitely love to see it, especially when players can get behind that as well, start feeling that energy and start putting that with that bounce back that we saw. Now we're gonna talk about one team that really has to bounce back because they've just been so consistent at the top, and that is none other than Shxrk and Teeny being able to just do their thing this first 3 matches, it feels like.
Yeah, I feel like game 3 was the one that kind of did it for me here, Kelly, because, listen, you know, when we kind of looked up towards the high ground and they were on high ground once more, I kind of just shrugged it off. I was like, how are they consistently doing it?
They were in game number 2, they were in Storm all the way until zone 5, zone 6. I was like, clearly they lost half of their health. All these people are going to be watching them come into zone. There's no way they're they made it and they almost won the game. Cool. They do this time and time again. Are they that much better than everyone else? And I think the comparison is even stronger right now because of how poorly a certain duo is doing.
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about it, you want to go there, because I'm ready to go there. You want to talk about, you know, the teams who I think we expected to do a bit better that aren't. So we're going to probably have to take a look at the next page of the leaderboard to get to some of those teams. But Shxrk and Teeny, it's been, I think if you're an EU fan, it's been exactly what you expected.
Exactly.
Right? It's what they've done all year.
Yeah, we'll get a chance to talk about that duo that you guys are currently alluding to. But some of the other surprises, I mean, we just got a chance to hear from Phoenix and Retro 2 being their first LAN 11. And Kelly, this is one of those things that sometimes it lets them get onto, the pressure just gets to these players. It's not looking like that so far.
I think the reality is, these guys didn't come in, I think, with that much pressure, right? I don't think they had all of it. You guys need to represent for us and deliver at the top level. It's allowed them to come into today, play their game. They've gone under the radar, and again, a very strong start. There's a lot of games to be played, right? So you don't want to get too ahead of yourself, but this is encouraging signs.
Thank you, Levin, for kind of bringing up the conversation of NA, because unfortunately for NAC specifically, I mean, Phoenix and Retro are actually carrying that conversation right now. The only team from NAC in that top 10 was actually Booga and Braid sitting there in 9th place. So let's go ahead and take a look at the second page here, right? Where are these teams actually standing? I mean, Shadow and Virgo. These guys got to pick it up. I mean, 12th place, Muzz and Sphinx. These guys got to pick it up. And then Kelly, the duo that I'm sure you are begging to talk about. I mean, Peterbot and Poyo down there in 17th place, 33 points.
How could we not talk about this duo? This is the duo that's been on everyone's name, not just in the Reload Elite Series, but in the FNCS. They won 3 of the finals, and they got 2nd place. And to see them not just doing poorly, but at the bottom of the barrel, I'm not trying to like talk trash. I think this is shocking, and there's something going wrong.
It is shocking, but I think, you know, I can sit here and dunk on Pete and Poyo all day long, right? I know people think I want to do that. The reality is, these guys are 2 of the best players in the world. When you look at a lot of their year so far, they've had a lot of performances like this where it's very slow to start. I think the days of Peterbot and Poyo just sort of running at everybody and completely rolling them over, it's probably past those days. However, they are still a team that you would pick to beat anyone when it comes to a fight. And so I think they need to just sort of take some time to think they're over. I don't think they're finished. I don't think they're washed. I just think this is a reality check that will be very good for them moving forward.
All right, Levin, I see what you're cooking there. You don't want to trash too much. It could be too early to wave that red flag for some of this squads too. It's only been 3 matches. We still got 7 more matches to go, but they are fairly close to the bottom 3. And what happens to the bottom 3 at the end of the day? Those keys get crushed. So I want you, Levin, to look back at the camera. I want you to get into your best mindset as a coach. If you are currently coaching those 2 players from Falcons, what are you going to be telling them after 3 matches?
You guys have done it. Time after time. Whenever the pressure's been on, whenever people have doubted you, you've made it happen. Make it happen today. You guys aren't finished. You guys aren't done. You guys are the best in your region. Show that here today. The Falcons are supporting you. All the different games have come together. They put in so much work for you to deliver in the final lap of the race. You have to make it happen.
Oh my God. Baby, I don't know about you, Kelly. I don't know about you. I've been putting me in there, coach, because I want to play.
Yeah, I know. This is getting me motivated. Maybe I have to throw the old headset back on, Lev. Thank you very much for that. Listen, actually, I want to bring up a conversation that me and Levin had just not too long ago, talking about this comeback from Peterbot and Pollo. We kind of gave them a number of games that they could kind of clutch up, right? And Levin called it, he was like, listen, they could probably throw away like 6 games and they could still pull it off because we know what Peterbot and Pollo are capable of. So confident in Peterbot and Pollo's capability that me and Levin kind of both agree that they could get into the top 7 with just 4 good games.
But it seems like everyone is stepping up right now. There are so many teams surprising us, stepping up, coming in here with a game plan. And I wonder if maybe this is a bit of the hubris of Peterbot and Pollo coming into this thinking that they were going to run away with it. However, they love to build a story. They love to go to day 2. I don't think we're going to see them in the bottom 3. So if we do see them in that elimination round in 2 days, that might just be the story they want to build.
That would be crazy. Yeah, nobody's going to be expecting that from talking to you guys every single time I keep hearing Falcons is going to be going straight to finals. Right now, it's not looking likely, but one team that is looking likely to make it to the finals is Leviathan with Lava and Romero.
Suspended and live visibility.
I'm a big fan of the Brazilian region. These guys are 2 Argentines who they've been making waves, man. They've done so well in the qualifiers over there. And I think when you just look at the way they've actually played, especially when I look at Romero, I mean, he has had some qualifier finals where he's just tearing it up. And genuinely, we spoke about it before the tournament game. I was like, if there's one team I'm looking at how they perform. I think these guys have, you know, the ability to really go away in this competition.
We always like to talk about smaller regions and how they're underrepresented in these LAN settings, but Brazil, time and time again, always steps up, always proves themselves to being able to compete with the best of the best in NAC and EU. So to see them do that again is absolutely wonderful.
I feel like there's a little bit of a theme though in that top 5, right? We're obviously kind of highlighting some of these teams, and it's going to be a similar thing for Lua and Romero here. Is that we've only gone through 3 games so far, so a lot of these top 5 teams right now, all of their points are actually off of just one single good game. Like if we take a look at their match history, it's a 14th, a 2nd, and 11. So pretty much all their points are kind of just coming from that 2nd place with 7 eliminations, and that's kind of the theme with a lot of these teams in that top 5. So even though these teams are towards the top of the leaderboard right now, outside of like Shxrk and Teeny, nobody has actually really found their footing to be consistent in multiple matches so far. So even though the leaderboard is kind of shaken up and we're not seeing a lot of things that we are used to seeing, I feel like it's going to start to switch up very soon.
I'm glad you brought that up because it is going to be all about that consistency, especially once we get to the finals with match point. And right now with what we're seeing, our Shxrk and Teeny is outstanding. Now, right, any team that has actually surprised you, whether it's good or bad so far after 3 matches.
All right, listen, at the start, game number 1, Muzz and Sphinx came out there. We saw the solo clutch coming out as well, and I thought that was going to be the start of it. It has not been the best 2 games after that, but I want Muzz and Sphinx to come back up, man. Muzz is a fan favorite for so many people, and Sphinx has to be one of the funniest players in the world. I want to get an interview out of them at least just one time.
Maybe we'll get a chance to get an interview. I know, in talking about interviews, one person that's currently with the... I'm surprised he's even here too. Pierre Gasly from Formula 1. Barney, take it away, because I really want to hear what he's got to say.
Pierre Gasly, we saw you hanging out at the Gadir City Grid where all the Fortnite
și chat, cei care se pe live. Bă, nu e vorba de banii de pe TikTok, e vorba că mie nu mai îmi recomandă live-ul pe TikTok. Live-ul meu nu mai ajunge mai departe la persoane, bro, înțelegeți? El nu mai ajunge mai departe la oameni.
The game, I appreciate, you know,
el nu mai ajunge mai departe la oameni, bro, știi? Asta e faza.
You see, and no, it's very impressive, very
mai departe la oameni, bro.
Day for me. I wish I could just like sit around and just watch all the gameplay, but very cool event.
As someone who's used to performing under pressure, like any words of advice that you...
Cadourile sunt suspendate în live-ul tău. Restricție în recomandări în search results due to reproduce content, such as pre-recorded or copy content. Cu noi, bro.
The sort of like teamwork and yeah, just appreciate the precision. I game myself more like Call of Duty. I do a bit of
live-ul meu nu mai ajunge mai departe la oameni, bro, pentru că nu mi recomandă TikTok.
I know the thrill, the excitement, and just to see it to that professional level is
Păi normal, nu cred că să mai facem aici view party, bro. View party cu turneu o să facem doar aici pe aplicația roșie, boys. Băieți de pe TikTok, să știți. Uite aici, stai.
Izzy and Nosif, 3 games and 3 game winners, and almost all of them are inside of that top 7 as well.
And it's exciting to think about because we could be looking at the beginning of the end potentially for teams.
Aș putea oare pe TikTok să-mi pun doar webcam-ul și să las sunetul și lumea să intre pe live-ul ăsta celălalt? Oare merge? Dar pe live-ul ăsta n-am cum să mai testez.
Little segment that we just witnessed, Jacob, I might need Levin to start just being like my hype man before I go do anything in life because, hey, dude, what
dacă
a
mi se achită și
speech,
mie
right?
drumul
If I'm razzing you right now, that's gotta be the number. Like, just press record, send play, and throw that clip to Pete and Pollo.
No, I gotta agree with you, Levin. I can just hype up anybody to do anything in the world, and honestly, I think that should be enough to kind of spark a little bit from some of these players. You know, Khaled and Mshari, Epic Well, Pomp, Alex, Reckless, Peter, Pollo, Edson, PHN. We all know these guys have an immense...
Cea, dacă luați battle pe o mâine cu vechi vână 2 pe shop, intrați într-un giveaway, David, cum am făcut sezonul trecut, în care câștigătorul primește ce vrea el gift de pe shop, că-i 5.000 de V-Bucks, că-i 10 V-Bucks, că-i 30 de V-Bucks. Ce vrea el, asta primește pe shop.
Not looking to slow down anytime soon. That is until he catches himself on the receiving end of some damage. Pete, though, a little bit of a scramble right now. He needs to get Pollo back up and running.
Mamă, Tejino! Nu, mamă, la limită. Wow, te pup, Zito.
Malabuca fully profiting off of this crazy mix-up at Elite Armory.
That was close. That was close. From Pete and Pollo being eliminated first out of game 4. And honestly, this is like a refreshed Vico and Malabuca. I had a chance to talk to them for a few seconds. I was telling them, like, passing these games are absolutely crazy. And I said, no one's really going up for height. And you know what Malabuca said? You better expect to see us at high ground if we make it towards the end game. And already they're showing a huge change up when it comes to the confidence early.
Like, always easier said than done, right? Especially when you've got teams like Shxrk and Teeny that have just been so consistent holding it down, but Muzz, this is a rare sight, losing the Bloom battle, and Malabuca just immediately closing in. Only needs one more well-placed shot to be the end of the line here for Muzz, and that's going to do it. Malabuca with a clean finish, and poor Muzz just sent packing back over to where Screech is at.
Straight quick 9 points for them. They started in 7th place at 95 points. They are the line to beat as of now, but already at the course of the game, they move up into 6th place, passing Z-Dog and Goofy. Cringe, Voco, they're still having the same early game fights, just a whole different team. It's Nalu and Rainy this time around. They get that first elimination, essentially forcing one of them to disengage and try to hide.
Will Malabuca be able to swing his way out of this one, though? PH Zen trying to make sure that he can actually shut down one of EU's best, but Malabuca knows shots from both ends of the spectrum, and he won't be able to escape it this time. A great sandwich there by Edson and PH Zen to shut him down. And Malabuca, though, he already had his fun at the end of it, Jacob. Getting those 3 eliminations was a very nice start to the lobby, but I like the fact that you kind of pointed out that they're feeling very confident in terms of trying to send it towards that high ground in the end game opportunities. Still, you have to wonder, any time that it goes south even slightly, it's just like a dominoes effect. All it takes is that one little hiccup, and then your game plan is just sent straight out the window.
Yeah, especially if the zone kind of pulls over in the direction in which you've been fighting on. And right now, it seems early on, more than half of the zone is outside of the map on the south side. So we know for the most part we could have things jumping right back up towards the center, but this goes that early game start.
Webcam-ul nu l-am schimbat, poate bate lumina diferit.
Malabuca was able to get 2, and then this final one
dacă ți se pare că mi-a schimbat o să acum pe short-uri, care arată diferit dacă fac cu telefon.
Peterbot, we saw him go down early on with 0 eliminations, or let's just say 1. Now he's picked up 2 more, so they're just trying to go ahead and put themselves to the test. Talked about Levin said maybe they could throw away 6 games. Well, they might be able to throw away 6 games, but Peterbot and Pollo don't want to throw away 6 games.
Hey, it's always Pete Pollo. You just can't be worried about these guys until you actually see them in this sort of position, and we're maybe in our last 3 games of the day. Then maybe, you know, affairs start to get a little bit worried about how they're going to actually wind up and which part of the leaderboard they'll be at after all 10 matches played through today. Shadow and Virgo, though, roller coaster of emotions for these two. They've seen some highlights, and then there's just been the dips back down. it's just very difficult for them to get that consistency rolling.
Yeah, it's kind of telling it. You know, look at their journey here. In the first qualifier, they got 6. They missed out on actually qualifying. The second qualifier, they missed out on the finals lobby completely, and then they qualified in qualifier 3 inside, I think, a top 4 finish. And then the fourth qualifier, again, they missed out, which just kind of shows that they can highs, they have lows. They're a team that builds off momentum, and they need to continue that here in today's game.
That's exactly it. Momentum being the key word. Because you see Shadow and Virgo get even one elimination, all of a sudden they are racking up the count. But obviously, we'll have to see whether or not that actually ends up being their fate in this game. Right now, Vico looking to apply a little bit of pressure towards Nalu. And Vico Malabuka, this is definitely confidence. Just kind of oozing from both of them. Vico gets one already. Nalu was rather injured before he even got to apply the shot, but now Rainy on the ropes here, not trying to get fully wiped this early on. They still want a fighting chance, and Vico knows it, and he's looking to shut that down immediately.
Yeah, he had to go back for the build, get no material left, but he realized he's on a clock if he wants to get this team fully out of the lobby. But Rainy goes down instead of getting eliminated, so you know he's bought Nalu enough time to at least get back in the game. And if you guys don't know, since they're fighting so far outside of the zone, instead of the teammate rebooting above you, that only happens when you're in the safe zone. So he rebooted somewhere inside of the map, far away from his teammate, so he really had no chance to help him either way.
Malabuka, though, doesn't really seem too pressed by it, will be able to pick up.
Dar oricum sezonul nou nu o să afecteze reload-ul în niciun caz. Arme noi categoric.
That he's actually rather close by. They're a little bit more fixated on just making their own rotations. Again, just another one of those teams, international representation. They've managed to secure a top 3 already in today's competition. Just 1 or 2 more of those, and that could be what sets them up for that top 7 finish.
Yeah, they're not too far away from where the bubble actually is. So they just need to continue to keep at it. And we talked about kind of start the day. Nerves might be playing a little bit of a factor from some of these teams, but it's happening to everybody little by little, especially the ones that might be running out of time. You saw the loadout, the mythic record revolver, which packs a punch from far away. So when this team does eventually try to play for that high ground, it is going to hurt from a bit of a distance.
Ce e diferit la el? Ai practic 3 spawn-uri. Și harta mai mică, și spatele să te play. Cam asta e diferit la reload.
They'll start to rotate. They've got the whites to work with, but Vico, another little run back.
Cam asta e singura diferență.
Very aggressive instance. And it's just impressive knowing that Malabuka also has full confidence in his Swagger that Vico is going to close that fight out 9 times out of 10. And that's a daunting fact when you are one of those teams like Rainy and Nalu and realizing, dang, we just got shut down by one guy.
Mi-aș pune microfonul în partea asta.
It's just one of those tough things that start to play on you mentally, but as you look at Cammy and Hari, I know they were talking about a lot of teams in today's games. I know it's only been 3, rather kind of inconsistent outside of maybe Shxrk and Teeny, but Cammy and Hari are another one of those teams you got to give a little credit to. Second place in the first game, 3rd place in the last one, 18th in the middle, and then a total of 8 eliminations, so they're making sure that they stay above and ahead of the curve, or at least as far as right now goes.
Deci mai vedem. Păi da, mă, dar gândește-te că eu când mă joc, involuntar îmi văd microfonul aici, știi?
They are so high up, Doc, but they're going to have that bird's eye view. They can assess the situation and try to bring in all that information so they know exactly where they actually want to drop. And for Buga and Braids, it's not too far off when the launch pad actually is.
Makes sense, though, for Buga to immediately cut it short. You recognize the fact that Pablo Chino were very quickly closing in on their position. Not only that, but that little scuffle taking place with Shxrk, Teeny, Cammy, Hari. They didn't want to risk finding themselves stuck in the air and just getting tagged up along the way, trying to be relatively healthy once they actually touch base onto the ground yet again.
El se califică în finală, vedem ce face.
Whether or not Izzy and Nosif are able to replicate that last game success here, and it could start by finding these eliminations onto Khaled and Mshari, but the way that Mshari, it's a war of attrition here, and it's Mshari who's going to take him out. Nosif has fallen. Izzy now trying to gauge whether or not he can even buy enough time for his duo to get back up and running, but Mshari just doesn't have enough builds, wasn't able to make it to the body to actually secure anything, so left the fallback and wait for Khaled to instead help him out. But Izzy, that was all the time he needed.
Yeah, but this is still essentially a 2v1, even with NoSif back in the game. Remember, I said you don't reboot over your teammate when they're in the zone. They're safe right now for NoSif, so you see him trying to do what he can. Just try to get some loot. That way, if the worst does happen, and NoSif does go down, you try to fight back, but finally you see Izzy in the mini-map making his appearance, so he doesn't stray too far away. He knows there's a huge strength in numbers, and they want to continue to use it to their advantage.
Bugha and Braids are being so cautious with every single one of their rotations, though. Anytime that you start to see them, maybe we're just going to step a little bit further forward. No, they scout out another team, immediately block off the line of sight. They are not trying to take any unnecessary damage, but they are having to burn through a lot more material than intended, and that could come back to haunt them later on in this lobby, Jacob, because we haven't even hit reboot shutting off just yet.
Bă, dacă m-a scos de la bloc, am bani de la pe chat-ul aia?
Yeah, but they're not just too...
Ia, cel puțin. Ca să scriu mai fan pe chat. Vrei să și pentru abonați, ce este? A, după un minut pot abia.
But it's just a lack of being able to kind of do it again, or at least get close. They have the 17th and a 10th in their 2 other games, but they did have the eliminations with that victory royale, which kind of boosted them up the leaderboard. So you got to make sure to close out, maybe inside of the top 10, top 5, if you're looking to stay within contention of that top 7.
Hey, fair play though to Vico and Malabuka. Nice little rotate in, glide through, cut the cord, play it safe, take over front side, and refarm anything that you can along the way. Even though they were pretty much max material, every little bit helps at this stage. And just knowing that they've prevented Peterbot and Pollo from having that freedom to just sort of immediately send it straight ahead. They are going to have to be very cognizant of where Vico and Malabuka are at, or at least get some good damage application in to prevent them from looking back and spraying their direction.
Let's see where the zone actually forces a lot of teams, but most of them spread out, except for the Muzz, Mshari, Izzy, NoSif, Cringe Vocal.
Ia. Scă așa. Salutare, domnule Paul. Peterbot+Alti. Ia, dacă dau face am ban? E că am ban.
Local to the area that they are going
okay,
to
facem progres, okay.
Obviously, you want to preserve as much of your material,
but
progres. That might not be possible when you've got teams like Chino, Pablo, already just waiting for the prime opportunity to strike. Bugha and Braids, though, actually going to opt to fall back into the storm, take up a little bit of damage there. They got Whites to work with, but more importantly still, avoiding all of this focus. And Teeny, Shxrk, already letting it be known to Shadow that was not the way to go.
Yeah, that's going to be a heartbreaking loss right there. 12 points for Shadow and Virgo. They got separated, putting a lot of pressure onto one to try to find success. Pump feeling the same type of pressure being poured his way. It's Peterbot and Pollo. They know the damage is there, but it actually gets stolen away. Pablo Ingu is able to get the knock on the Pump. Epic Will is going for a revive, but a chop comes in on the Pete and Pollo, distracting them just long enough for that revive to be an actual possibility.
Epic Will maybe even counting his lucky stars that he was able to pull that one off. Sometimes it's indirect help from the lobby. But all the better still. And it was still kicking here. Izzy, NoSif, great job concealing themselves. Didn't get the damage application they wanted against Z-Dog and Goofy, but the pressure point could definitely be applied, shredded on their builds right now, doing everything in their power to keep these walls closed off.
Literally just melted through all of that brick. Still have a decent amount left, and especially one elimination could definitely change things. For Pablo and Chino,
așa ok. Că nici nu știu cum să-l dau Messi-ul ăsta, cum mi-ai spus. Salut, Cosmin.
Only Shxrk and Teeny that are now feeling a little loose. Peterbot and Pollo, I think that last game was enough. Going down relatively early in almost every single one of the games so far. 18
E pur disable, bro.
plays. They did get a 9 with 3 eliminations, but if you know Peterbot and Pollo, that is nothing compared to how well they can play.
Like, there's a method to the madness when it comes to these two, that's for sure. But for Vico and Malabuca, they just continue to find success after success. And for Pete and
No, mai bine stai acolo, bă, Tini.
Sure, it's one thing to overthrow team on height. It's another though to
Nu înțelegi de ce Paul se uită la 400 de oameni, doar vă stăm în 4. Bă, Vito, eu mi spai o perspectivă pe asta. Pe ce totuși când încerci să mă susții, să mă pui pe mine într-o lumină bună? Dar până la urmă fiecare are comunitatea lui, bă, gen. Lumea se uită la plăcere de Paul că poate nu mai vede pe alt live, știi? Adică pe mine nu mă deranjează, bă, eu mă bucur că v-am pe voi pe live, mă bucur că chiar dacă mi-a luat restricție la live pe TikTok și mi-a nerosit ăștia tot reach-ul și mi-a picat și PC-ul de 2 ori pe timpul live-ului. Hai, bă, ne descurcăm. Ne descurcăm, bă. Hai să vedem pe Shxrk acum.
Making sure they can get a little bit more space to work with. Peterbot and Pollo still have their eyes up above. They don't want to lose sight of anybody that could potentially try to go for the high ground, and I have my eyes on two, but they're
Tini cu Shxrk în spate și-au puțin damage. Bă, vedeți că la începutul turnei, nu! Epic whale, băi, grasule, hai! Pe burtă. Shxrk! Chill. Rez. No.
Trying to go for a greedy revive, but it's too late. That slight delay was all it took to prevent him from having a full run of it with Tini, and that plan has now been that's going to also overexpose. Peterbot's going to drop from height, but he'll have no issues whatsoever reconnecting where Pollo is at. It's just knowing that Shxrk and Tini didn't get the chance to actually fizz crash pad up, and that's going to be a big swing now. Vico, Malabuca are going to have to make this attempt all on their lonesome, and with very little material to work with, they just got to take care of what's right in front of them.
Yeah, I know he has his eyes on that high ground, but as you said, no materials, that might not be a possibility any longer. Chino forced down below. It's Peterbot and Pollo the ones that are going to take down Pablo. Vico as well, that's going to get all of that loot and kind of steal it away. The Chino staggering back, 0 builds. He needs the perfect elimination here. Shxrk to try to get into the front, but it only puts him in the limelight. He's facing danger left and right. A full team in the box and trades that eventually win their run.
Mai e în viață?
Who was just scrambling inside of that box with them, but hey, whatever works. But
Pollo pe burtă.
Shots onto Pollo and the high ground gonna be up for grabs. That's all it takes.
Hai, let's go, bro.
Pollo eliminated, so Malabuca still managing to get the job done, even if he doesn't have any materials to work with. He'll farm them out along the way, but more importantly still,
Boga pe burtă.
they won't get the chance. Malabuca, Vico refusing to budge.
No, Shxrk a murit, nu e imposibil mai.
Vico and Malabuca, he kept his word. He said he's going
Vico și
for high ground, and so far he hasn't.
Burta.
I spoke too highly of him. He goes down, leaving Vico.
Mamă, ce ego! 200 1v1.
Situation. He has no time to pop the heals. He's buying everything that he has down below on the other side. Edson from Brazil, qualifying from their region, bringing it down to this moment here. His teammate going down, putting all the pressure on him.
Mamă, ce 1v1 ăsta, nu mai meți. Doar ține haiul, bro. Ține haiul, Vico. Vicoleanu. Bă, Vicoleanu! Gata, te-ai dus. Da, mă, da, mă. Hai că are ego, mă, după FNC swing-ul de sezonul trecut. Ce frumos! Frumos, frumos. Just spălă ea, bro.
Knowing that they were still able to secure the victory royale and certainly catapulting themselves very comfortably inside that top 7 threshold.
I was scared for them in a moment.
Frumos.
I was scared.
Poți să pune chat-ul, bă, mulțumesc mult de follow, chat.
I thought maybe he had the shockwave, but then he splats
Frumos.
onto
Ce
the
râd de
ground.
Vico.
And for Vico to kind of just brush that off very quickly and immediately go to work to not only get that elimination, but then clutch the 1v2. That was absolutely insane. These are why they are a reigning, defending FNCS Major 1 Summit Land champions.
And look, don't get me wrong, Vico had 17 builds more to work with than Edson in those final moments, but the fighting IQ was clearly there. He doesn't waste any time. He doesn't go for an overly aggressive, all-out, just open, clear edit. He really takes over height. He wanted to have that leverage of having the option to look down, make sure that he can secure those right-hand positions even, and that just made it so complicated for Edson. He was already working into a deficit, being so limited on materials, so great job there to Vico to really keep his cool in that moment, but he's not new to this. He's been here before, and obviously we got to hear from them directly.
Intro încolo, te pup, Luca. Stai că vedem acum, David, fii atent. Fii atent. Chill.
Let's go! All while saying that, just kind of calm, cool, collected. Even while he's shockwave up, Malbuga say you can pop a big. Nothing down below, and then he hits him with a flying elbow drop off the top rope to take that game.
Just really solid Fortnite there from Vico. And I know he's definitely had his instances leading up to this series, Jacob, where Vico's kind of had those dips. And I don't want to say that they were, you know, shattering to his confidence, but for a moment he was very open about the fact, you know, oh man, after Summit, definitely took a little bit more time off than maybe what I should have. Things have been a little bit shaky, a little rough, but leading into this tournament, he has been on the grind, hustling non-stop, to put himself back into a very strong contention. Major 2, forget it ever took place, because right now it is all about the Esports World Cup.
Yeah, you see, just a huge game for them. That's got to start to boost the confidence, and that's going to be the biggest things, because we know Shxrk, Tini, Peterbot and Pollo, Vico, Malabuka, and so many others can win this entire event, right? But it's about how you're playing in any given moment, the vibes, the confidence, and that's what these guys have. But that's going to do it for us here from Game 4. Don't go anywhere, because we'll be right back.
Nu cred că e nevoie să fie așa, eu, bro. Trebuie să fim pozitivi. Trebuie să fim mai buni, bro. Wow, dar ce meci, bro. Mie nu-mi vine să cred, efectiv. Mie nu vine să cred, bă, efectiv. Ne știu. Da, crazy, bro. Crazy work, bro. Mamă, dar câte aplicații am deschise să moare de asta. Wow, 15 minute de pauză. 15 minute de pauză. Fără mișto. 15 au zis? Hai să dăm niște one-v-ones, chat. Ia, dați-mi request, bă, să dăm niște ones. Dați-mi request să dăm niște 1v1s, bro. Solo Armand. Să sun pe Shxrk în game? Nu, că vreau că am numărul lui în primul rând și nu cred că ai telefonul la el. La cine ai dat gift? Bă, am dat un gift, o să vedeți pe TikTok. Bă, Sebi, am luat restricție, frate, că conținut neoriginal și reprodus. Pentru că am stat și fac o V-party, dar apa e. Giftul de la clip. Bă, ți-am zis, Sebi, obișnuiește-te. Asta am zis, obișnuiește-te, bă. Pe vremea mea nu existau restricții de genul. Edit 3, 2, 1. Tătătătăm. Așa de parcă ai 21 de ani. Eu? GG, bro. Mai sunt meciuri? Da, mai sunt. Bă, dar eu la... Trebuie să plec la mecanic chat. Nu știu ce facem. Închid live-ul. Te pun pe tine, Abdul, să comentezi meciurile. Îl pun pe Rusu, nu știu ce fac. Pe Abdul, pe Rusu și pe Abdul. Pe Rusu și pe Abdul, bro. Pun pe amândoi. Dacă voi. Ideea, nu știu, fac vreo 10 minute până la mecanic. Păi îl pun pe Rusu, bă. Pun pe Rusu. Meci 5. Bă, nu sunt 15 minute.
We're gonna have to get the job done somewhere else, but for Shxrk and Teeny, Vico Malabuka, these are two teams that I think we're pretty confident have stamped their position inside of that top 7 threshold, and obviously they're gonna keep trying to keep the ball rolling, but also, the world's kind of their oyster.
Yeah, and I feel like the only way for these two teams that you're talking about to fall out of that top 7 is literally for them to just not care anymore and maybe not even really kind of put it to the test like they have been. So Shxrk, Teeny, they've just been one of them teams that you look at and just gotta be so impressed as we continue to look around, seeing where some of these teams are at. Cringe Voca started this game in 14th place. They had 81 points, but you can see they have an elimination, so they themselves are starting to close the gap. But as of now, the halfway point or so, it's about 124 points. So even Pablo and Chino are barely safe, and I don't know how long it's going to remain so, especially since Shxrk gets his revenge.
And the worst part about Shxrk and Teeny and these types of competitions, Jacob, that all of EU is all too familiar with. Once they feel like they don't have any kind of pressure, that there's no stakes involved, they just start going all out with the aggressiveness. And so I expect to see a lot more of Shxrk and Teeny just rolling through the map, and I just feel bad for anybody that they might come across, because they are just going to be dishing out whatever kinds of fights that they can muster up. It just doesn't matter. These guys are just playing with all the freedom in the world. That was kind of one thing I was really scared at, and they're one of the teams that could potentially take it off. You look over toward the side, Shxrk does it yet again, taking down Goofy, and this is where Fortnite in general is such an important game for the overall ecosystem for EWC, more particularly the club championship. If you look on your side, you got Team Falcons in first place, your defending club champions, and then AGAL in second. You also have teams from Team Vitality in this that picked up some points, so it's still anybody's tournament in terms of the club championship. Look, Shxrk is actually disgusting right now. Granted, that was some awesome cutoffs by Teeny, just really preventing any sort of room to breathe, but Jacob, Shxrk is very obviously feeling the confidence right now, and just the way that he is carrying himself. He wants every single elimination point he can find. He is not happy right now with seeing Vico Malabuka overthrow.
Through 4 games, Shxrk and Teeny have 14 eliminations total. In this game, Shxrk has 6 eliminations by himself. Taco, I think you said it best. This is just a whole nother team when they have nothing to lose, and it's going to be even more so that scenario because of this game alone. 24 points on straight eliminations, 18 points on straight eliminations here from Shxrk by himself. Again, that gap that we're talking about is only increasing.
This guy's not even farming. He's getting all of his material just off of body loot. I feel bad because players are basically just gathering up all of the resources Shxrk and Teeny would need and depositing them at their feet. But the way that Shxrk and Teeny are just so casually strolling through this lobby right now, definitely looking forward to checking back in and seeing whether or not that elimination count just continues to rack up. But for Z-Dog and Goofy, they probably just wish that they could find any sort of a silver lining here. Shxrk and Teeny, though, just refuse to let go. They are talking these guys down, chasing them to the corners of the map every single time. And also for Vico and Malabuka, they're probably watching this elimination feed lighting up right now and understanding the fact that Shxrk and Teeny, they're trying to put the ball back into their court. They want that first place position.
Yeah, and I will say the lucky thing though for Vico, Malabuka, and everybody else, Shxrk and Teeny are lighting up the leaderboard, building that gap. But it only matters in terms of top 7 for today, or just not getting down into the top 3 as NA on
NA, un comentator de fotbal. Mă inițiat în pariu că s-a pe telefon, am avut timp să rezolvat.
Phoenix, they won one of the EWC qualifiers on NA. Shadow and Virgo, they qualified with a top 4 finish, and it's going to be Shadow and Virgo, interesting enough, that do disengage away. And rightfully so, because like I talk about moments, and right now in this moment, Phoenix and Retro are the best NA team in terms of the leaderboard.
That was also a really crucial instance there for Phoenix and Retro, because they didn't just get steamrolled by Shadow and Virgo, despite the fact that Shadow and Virgo were trying to apply some steady pressure there. Phoenix and Retro holding their own. They are proving exactly why they are currently in contention for that top 7 positioning, and they're looking to keep going all the way here, Jacob. Sure, they might have a lot of steps to take before they can really break into that top 2 position, but top 3,
și a venit puțin pitări. Bă, dar la canal cu capăt de tăspeții.
40 points, give or take, their way from the top 7 bubble. So even though we have this game here and 5 more to close out the day, plenty of time for them to close the gap. The Sphinx just gets tagged up on his way towards the outside of Elite Armory. Luckily for him, Muzz is there, not only to fire back shots, but alleviate some of the pressure, scoping through, gathering information, and even with the zone kind of pulling forward, they do have access to the launch pad, so it's interesting the way they're playing it towards the left side of Shxrk and Teeny. Teeny's finally going to go down, but Shxrk is still up, and honestly, he has been the difference maker in terms of aggressive. Even with Teeny going down, he's still moving
O să sun după meciul ăsta, bro, dar Teeny s-a dus pe burtă, bro. Un la în România, ar fi nice, ar fi nice.
Not trying to completely toss this 5th lobby out the window just
yet. 7 kg totuși.
Smart to disengage here. It's a rare sight, but even these two understand that it's just not worth trying to force certain engagements when things have just already worked against you. Heads up moment though from Ru and Moda, because Shxrk Teeny, the bigger issue is that since they didn't give chase to Shxrk, and for good reason, they're trying to just play out their own game. They don't want to take any unnecessary risks, because even if they get the elimination, they still might have to spend some time recovering. That just brings up a whole new slew of problems.
O să facă cum inițiată Steel Series, torneo de Fortnite.
Spotted out Pablo and Chino, but Pablo and Chino don't really seem that interested in the fight.
Yeah, this is seemingly like the stage in the game where you don't want to go down. Yes, you will get rebooted for in the 5th zone. You're not going to have much loot to go after.
No,
you're not going to have a lot of time to loot up. And even though you do kind of get one of those pseudo loadouts, depending on which stage of the game you actually rebooted,
Asta unde vorbesc, cred că sunt ei, nu știu, pe TeamSpeak, pe Discord, nu știu.
You're so far away from your teammate, you almost try to hope for a miracle, and I think that's why you're seeing a kind of disengage after disengage from some of the teams that you know love to take some of these fights. It's just not necessarily worth the risk, at least at this stage in the tournament.
Pablo and Gina, though, probably pretty happy every single time they've been seeing Goofy and Z-Dog light up in that elimination feed, because that's the most immediate competition in terms of leaderboard standing. So knowing that the team directly behind them in positioning is just constantly suffering for being chased across the map, it gives them a lot more operating space, because they can just take their time. They don't have to necessarily force any types of engagements. They can just look to see things through. Slow and steady can win things out.
Seen a bit of exotics in this one as well.
Chat, mâine să știți că face live cu 9 sezon, bro. La 10:30. Live cu 9 sezon, bro.
I believe in Braid's hand, which kind of ices your opponent on shot as well. So definitely have some tricks underneath their sleeve. Not sure how.
Și dacă luați betele pe sucul vechi fără de pe shop și întâlniți filmare, o să intrați într-un giveaway cu Give, bro. Și dacă cumva facem și 200 de like-uri, ar fi mișto, bro. Spui alarmă, W. La iPhone 14.
Izzy and Nosif, though, have already tasted victory. Earlier lobby here.
Asta e grafica de PC, da, cred că da.
The real prize is ensuring that they are inside of that top 7. They know that they still got their work cut out for them. Job's not finished, so no time to celebrate too heavily just yet.
Nu ai delay acum, da, m-am pus pe ăsta, bro.
But they were brought back to reality for a moment in that last lobby and just steadily reminded of the fact that at any given moment you could be next.
That's the thing about reload.
Power Alex ăla pe mai în spate, bro. Nu mai spun mai Luca, nu știu dacă am ieșit. N-avem de să știm, băi. Băi, n-aș că mi-a dat full restricție TikTok-ul ăsta, bă, uite că sunt 50 de oameni, bro. Opa.
So that's Gino and Pablo that he needs to watch out for, but it's also Peterbot and Pollo that have just made their way in.
Things can definitely get a little bit dicey here, though. A little bit too much unfriendly company just nearby is Shxrk, Teeny, Khaled, completely on his last bearings, just trying to see if he can fall back to get the first trying to help with the supportive measures. Shxrk is just relentless with the pressure, just constantly bearing down, refusing to let Khaled even have the slightest operating space to actually get a little bit of going. I'm sorry, gonna have to take up that offensive front, but how do you hold the wall while simultaneously letting your duo heal? Khaled does barely manage to get some shield up and running, but Shxrk is still just forcing so many problems for these guys.
And they realize reboots are finally turning off. You see them not necessarily concede, but taking a little bit of a slower approach, see where the zone goes, they quickly react to it.
No, still vedem, bro.
Trying to do the same thing along with Muds and Sphinx towards the outside. And most of the teams on this edge towards the east are going to get a max pull. But with Flowberry Fizz, Shockwaves for Vico, Malibuca, it should take up no time at all. It's about assessing the situation of when and where to try to make that play possible.
That's a lot of players, though, for Vico. 555.
The launcher.
You can see part of what got them in this spot in the first place, and it was just clearing out Mofu and Tomat, leaving their area to be rather uncontested. And, well, it doesn't look like anybody nearby is going to be able to prevent them. They're going to look to start cutting through where the rest of the lobby is at. And sure enough, Vico, just setting up the Fizz play. They'll take their sweet time, though. The rest of the lobby not really going to have a chance just yet to even look their way. They've got clear airspace.
They can scuff Teeny.
Some have a little bit of struggles here. Shxrk, Teeny, both of them getting scratched up just a little bit. Dropped into the box. Shxrk's run of 7 eliminations has come to an end. Now leaves Teeny by himself. Does have a med kit, does have a slap splash, but that's going to keep him relatively low. Still one shot away from going down, but at least he's keeping him and Shxrk in it to collect a couple more placement points or elimination points for that match.
We've seen him make it happen before, but this might be too tall of an ask given how many healthy teams there really are. We are just directly over water right now. Material is running so thin for a lot of these players, and anytime you're forced to drop the low ground, it can just make for such awkward fights if you are stuck inside of the water. Now for Teeny, he's just wishing that he could find any sort of body loot left over. Zone is going to pull a bit more in his favor, but with only 28 builds remaining, he's going to have a tough time actually breaking his way through in this sea of duos. Pablo and Tino have actually done a great job so far at claiming height.
Yeah, they just got to be able to step off that shoreline and go up the side of that mountain. The beach day is over, but lurking up on the side is Peterbot and Pollo. The competition that they usually fighting up towards the top no longer going to be there, but great damage coming out for the likes of both of them. Spillberry Fizz, Shockwaves as well. I thought I even saw Muzz and Sphinx enter into the atmosphere, so no more free opportunities on the high ground. I think people got the memo after games 1 and games 2 with nobody looking up, and now starting to put a little bit more focus in that direction.
But if everyone's got the same intentions, who's actually going to be the one left to remain and take it over? Muzz, Sphinx are just so far up in the skies. Peterbot, Pollo now going to join the fray. Ari also alongside Cammy and Reckless 2 to boot. We have so many teams just gliding overhead, but the biggest advantage is given to Peterbot and Pollo right now. They're at that max render distance.
Multiple teams up towards the sky. Gotta be sure you don't forget about a teeny. Kind of floating out underneath. That's Callan. That was a good shot, but not good enough. He's able to take down Teeny, and they have stopped the momentum, or at least slowed it down as of now, right before the half. This is the last time for today. We're going to see Elite Strongholds before we go on over to Slurp Rush. So you got to really make these moments count. There's a whole different map, whole different contestation as Retro gets dropped off here outside of the top 15, outside of placement points.
And Vico Malabuca just doing a great job at tarping overhead of ultimate low.
Bă, totuși au făcut multe meciuri bune, bro.
Get any sort of leeway over that frontside position, but Peterbot Pollo, very similar intentions. They'll even take a moment to pause and heal. Nosif has been eliminated though, and now Vico Malabuca just continuing to claim space. But it's Muzz and Sphinx who are actually leading the charge here in the ultimate low ground. Is he doing what he can to try and hold his own walls? But Muzz and Sphinx, they are just refusing to give it up. And now Chino Pablo,
pe fundal și mă joc cu Minecraft. Da, băle, Minecraft.
A resurgence back onto the high ground. They know that Pete and Pollo have started to get a little bit comfortable up top, but nothing is ever safe.
Yeah, but you can see Pete and Pollo, they're just watching all around, making sure nobody can lurk up for free. Nobody could shockwave and try to close the distance without being noticed. Chino Pablo, they get noticed from up above. Peterbot and Pollo, they were the ones who took away their high ground, and they're the ones that are being persistent to try to get them out of this lobby. Down below, Braids out, Reckless gone. Chino has finally been dropped by Peterbot. Pablo tries to backtrack to get the Siphon match, but he gets cut short as well.
There's still just so many solos left kicking underneath, but Shadow Virgo actually playing from the backside of the zone. Now gonna start to make their entry point, but Pete's already scattered them out. That's a huge chunk out of Shadow's HP. They're gonna be so weak encountering a lot of those teams underneath where Pete and Pollo are currently at, and Pete still just trying to line up the shots.
Nu vreau să zic că pe calculator, dacă ești foarte curios, poți să cauți componentele aici.
They wanted to go for height. Malabuca's still gonna try and get the chop, but the damage has already been done. Pete got exactly what he wanted.
That was just a huge shot from Pete to stop them from trying to take the high ground. Even though they got chopped, they're still holding on to their momentum. Looking down, Nalu's the next in their line of sight, and so many others. They're waiting to see where the zone forces him out. This could be their opportunity to strike, but he's able to continue moving down below. But he ran into Muzz. That one gets cut short, and it's just forcing player after player into interaction down below, and Romero's going to be the one that reaps a little bit of a reward, taking down Boko and getting the loot.
Two solos, one other duo, and Romero hoping that it's going to be Pete Pollo who do something about his team overhead, but Peterbot jumping, an agent of chaos, just causing so much disruption underneath. Pollo right next to him, Muzz still managing to hold strong somehow, but it's all about Peterbot and Pollo and what kind of damage can be done. Romero barely going to make it into the zone, and he takes out Virgo with him, but now Muzz on the other end of things, trying to see if he can break through. Romero's had the chance to get some Siphon, but Pete Pollo immediately collapsed, and that'll be the end of it. Another second place position potentially on the line here, but it's all about whether or not Pete and Pollo can just find him at the end of it.
Yeah, I think with it going over the top of the mountain, you just don't have enough heals. It's the exotic Slapberry Fizz, and it's already empty. A slow start to the day. They build the momentum, and they win before the half. It's Pete and Pollo.
Well, let's be so honest right now, though, Jacob. They were always guaranteed at least the one.
Ia uitați-vă la tastatura lui Peterbot. Se aseamănă cu vreo tastatură pe care o vedeți acum pe ecran? Uitați-vă la tastatura lui Peterbot. Uitați-vă puțin la tastatura lui Peterbot.
An excellent effort for them to get these second place finishes because that's still going to net them a lot of placement.
Yeah, and we really got to talk about too because we're talking about halfway point. 10 games here today. We just played 5 games on Elite Stronghold. So no matter what the leaderboard says, the next 5 we're going over to Slurp Rush. Different drops, different teams around each other, different ways to play the end game. So congratulations to get Pete and Pollo winning that game. I don't know what the leaderboard says, but I have to imagine they're at least going to be on page 1 after this.
It's also a bit dangerous to think about Pete and Pollo.
Băi, din practic iau căști de la de ți le bagi în ureche, care automat îți acoperi toată urechea și nu prea mai auzi mare lucru din afară. Și căștile astea mari pe care le vedeți voi pe cap, le anulează sunetul și mai mult și nu știu dacă le bagă și sunet în căști, nu știu sigur. A câștigat primul meci, mi se pare, nu știu dacă a mai câștigat alt meci. Cam așa funcționează. Cam așa funcționează căștile astea, cred eu, așa mă gândesc că ar trebui să funcționeze. Deci dăm ți-am zis, bă, dacă e cu coda mea și... Crazy word, bro. What's this? Bun, hai că te bag pe dis, Rosso. Dau și eu un telefon la mecanic. Yo. Vezi că nu te aud, dar îți dau partea cu ăsta. Și mă uit puțin să vorbesc la telefon. Chat, mă întorc imediat, bro.
Hai că țin cea după telefon. Bă, Rusule, ce faci, mă, tată? Bă, ce să fac eu? Bine, pe aici. Bă, ce faceți, mă? Ce părere aveți de Shxrk? E făcut la CNF? Hai să nu vorbim despre asta. Că mă lăchid Milan. Dar nu e o partajare asta.
Da, băi, chatule, deci Rusu e comentator. Dacă vrei, Rusu, spun și webcam-ul.
Franchement, on compte en faire un deuxième, donc confiant pour.
Cred că te auzi bine pe live, ia să te asculti puțin. Te dau puțin mai tare pe live. Da, trebuie să fac și eu niște treburi, după aceea să mă duc pe la mecanic. Da, vechi e part-time streamer, hai că mă duc Rusu, dar mă întorc, hai că nu cred acum.
Bine, King.
Qu'est-ce que ça te fait ressentir forcément de jouer à Paris, de réussir à faire ce top 1
devant le public
français qui vous a clairement fortement encouragé et tout simplement qui ont applaudi à la fin de cette game?
Bah, franchement, ça fait plaisir. Et vous êtes les boss, hein?
I mean, it felt amazing, and they are just the boss.
They are the best, aren't they?
Yeah,
no, Seth, before I let you guys go, have you got a message for any of the fans out there, all of the French fans that are here to support you?
Qu'est-ce que tu veux dire à tous les fans français qui te suivent, que ce soit en stream ou qui te regardent ici dans la salle?
Franchement, merci d'être là, merci de nous soutenir comme vous le faites, et franchement, vous êtes incroyables, les gars, merci.
I really thank you very much for being there. Thank you very much to cheer for us as you do now, and we're gonna do our best.
I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, here it is one more time for Team Orchids. Back to you guys.
Bă, ce dead crowd.
We had a moment here. We had to walk up.
of course, none other Vico, Malibu, the stage, couch, whatever you want to call this here. Guys, it's a couch, right? Yes. How are you guys feeling? Obviously, we had a big victory royale from you. We got the classic Vico pop-off. Vico, how does it feel, man?
After getting 20 different grants, it feels great to actually be able to do something again for my IGL here. You know, not disappoint him. I don't know if y'all saw that clean 200. I don't know who that was in the last 2v2, but I was kind of moving there, I'd say, you know?
What was it like for you, Mally, where you're just like, all right, yeah, Vico just do kind of crazy stuff? I mean, if you're the IGL, you're kind of the big brain, we know that, but how did it feel for you?
I mean, that's kind of expected, like, you know, when we're in top 3 and then Vico is alive and he has at least like 150 HP, I just know he's gonna win.
Mă, 25 de minute până începe meciul.
I just died.
Mama mea, păi ce faci, mă?
Now, talk to me about this. So, obviously, you called out, didn't do too well recently. But I don't know what it is, but when you guys hit LAN, you're just different animals. And even in like the first 2 games we saw, it was like, maybe they're not doing like the way we expected, but then immediately like, oh, sorry, you're questioning me, Victor Royale. What leads into that? What makes you guys so good on LAN?
I mean, I think it's just because like on LAN, everyone's a tier 1 pro, right? Everyone's the best on their region for a reason. And nothing stupid can really happen, you know what everyone's gonna do, like, you know, nothing stupid can really happen. Like, for example, in the grand finals, right, there can be like, I don't know, like a handful of teams, maybe 2 handful of teams, right, that just don't know how to play the game. They just do some weird shit, give some people kills, whatever. Some stuff can happen.
Nu știu, am trecut de faza aia acolo.
Do you feel the same way, Mally? You feel like the same?
M-am dus în finale, m-a lăsat Milanuti.
We don't have enough passion at home. Like, it just feels different on LAN.
Okay.
Like, on LAN, we just like see all the pros, we see around, we see each other, and then like we're playing more serious. Like, that's kind of like this.
So you play better when there's more
Mamă, și Vicky m-a lăsat așa, cu gol, să mă uit la ăștia aici 20 de minute.
We don't get uncomfortable with pressure. We just like,
la BGV, da.
We get more serious and we play seriously.
How do you guys
go ahead? Quote saying that, you know,
Ia pe TikTok mă ia să țin și eu chat-ul pe
you remember that quote?
Yeah, you know, good old classic Pink. Gotta give him a shout out.
Pressure makes diamonds, you know?
That's right. So what do you guys feel like you've improved on since that 20th place coming in now?
Salut la băieții
of course,
pe TikTok.
being here on the EWC stage. What did you guys improve? What were the little things you're like, hey, and it doesn't have to be like a ton of things, obviously, you guys are the best, but what are like 1 or 2 things you were saying, like, we should work on this for that?
I think it's more like after 20 grands, right? We kind of got a wake-up call that we still need to like body.
Nu prea ce face cât te uiți ăștia.
We actually need to take the game serious and actually look at our mistakes and not just say like, oh yeah, bad zones, or yeah, just like
Rusul ești un urât. Te salut și eu, Răzvi.
We actually took matters into our own hands again, just like we did
at Summit. La BGV că vreau să fac o poză cu el.
Yeah, I mean, it's working out good pretty much, you know.
Dacă vrei, îi trimiți și poate îl convingem.
What do you think, Billy?
To be honest, nothing really changed. It's just real. It's just real interesting class.
Salut Rusu, salut David, te pup.
I don't know.
Pe celor Shxrk e pe 2.
Calling you guys humble comment just right out the window. Love to see that. Obviously, with the level of competition you guys are feeling, you know, is there another duel you have eyes on that you're like, man, I'd love to take it to like one final 2v2 and get a VR over you guys?
Ooh, actually, you know, like
Spot, pe Abdul și pe cine mai nominalizează vei.
Like the good teams, you know, like just the tier 1 teams, you know, would be nice to get a like.
Te prind și îl pun pe Dragoș pe tine, băi ăsta.
Which one, Peterbot+Alti or Shxrk?
Both of them.
Okay.
Coming from him. Didn't say anything. Don't come for me again, Peterbot fans, alright?
I'm saying this like for him as well.
No. Just to clarify, I didn't say any of this.
Ăștia pe TikTok dați acolo, tap să fac acolo 100.000. Te-am
I think that was when I walked him and said hello. I think that's exactly.
Bă, vezi că te auzi pe live. Intră pe ăsta pe Discord.
I don't know what you're talking about, Vico.
Oh my God,
obviously being in front of this amazing crowd and kind of hearing them roar. Can you guys maybe give us like a taste of what that feels like? Obviously, we're on one side. You guys are professional players playing in front of the crowd. When they're roaring, and if you go back and watch, your hands like actually shaking when they like cut to you. What are you feeling in that moment, man?
My hand was shaking?
Your hand was shaking.
Damn, I didn't even realize that. I guess I'm just too good.
W Vico sau lui
No, I mean, you know, it's fun. It's just like, I enjoy it, you know, it's just a feeling of like being on a LAN, you know, you get to see all the fans, like, you know, like online, like you can say like, oh yeah, I have 500,000 followers, like this platform, you know, but like seeing IRL, how many people actually show up to support you is so much more different. It gives you like, it pushes you forward, you know.
Imre, să știi că Vicky
that one like animation of him like being pushed up like by all the ghosts just like,
Vin eu,
like, you know, like that. It just gives you more faith, you know, in yourself. So I don't know, it's just a great feeling, honestly. It makes me want to do way better than I always do. You know? I'm stuttering.
Dude, it's good. We're in the moment. You're feeling really good. What do you feel about it? It's like is it the same for you? Do you feel something different?
I mean, we could just try to do perfectly. It just like it just helps you. It just it's always nice to see all the pros, all the stuff, everyone like on every LAN, on Fortnite LAN. So it's really good to be here.
Yeah. Now, obviously, this is Group A. Tomorrow we bring in Group B. Is there any duo maybe tomorrow you're hoping maybe doesn't make it through, or maybe you hope they make it through so you can fight them in the finals?
Honestly, I just want Sky and Scroll to make it through, you know? They're really good friends of mine, especially Scroll. You know, I talk to him a lot. Especially after that Finnigan Grands, we talked a lot. We got the same mental coach, always Poppy as well, you know? But yeah, I think I want them to go through, you know? Like, I don't know, they're just fun to play against.
I want to do bad, they're not gonna do bad because it's reload and it's 10 games, so it's really hard to not qualify.
Da, mă, n-are cum. Bine, ba da și vei și broadcast-ul ăsta la maxim, dacă...
Okay, one final question. I'd love to hear from you guys. For the fans, obviously the crowds out there, they're loving seeing you guys.
Bă, dați aici tap-tap-uri pe TikTok.
What would you say to the fans that are watching you guys?
Zic că mi-a zis de 2 luni când dă și am cumpărat cu codul lui.
I hope I can, you know, we just keep doing better and better, you know. I'm hyped for Belgium as well. But first of all, we gotta focus on this year, you know. Gotta show that we're still the best, you know, for a reason. People say Mickey Summit win. There's no Mickey in that, you know. But yeah, thank y'all for supporting us, you know. It keeps us, even at home, you know, keeps us motivated, keeps us faithful. You got something to say, Mavi?
Thank you for support, guys. We're gonna try to do better in the finals as well.
That's why I love this guy, bro.
Yeah.
He's just a go.
The benefit for you, Mally, is you just have Nico to do all the talking, or you're just like, hey, what he said, same here, same here. Well, guys, thank you so much. We appreciate y'all taking the time to talk with us.
Thank you for having us, bro.
Of course, it's great. Let's go play some more games, watch more stuff. You know, we'll do all that. For that being said, that was Vico. That's Banglabuka. We'll send it back into the studio.
Thank you, Seek, for that amazing interview with the players from Big as well. I mean, we saw Vico being able to clutch up earlier as well in game number 4, I believe it was. But right now, Levin, I gotta give you the gas, brother, because after that coach talk that you had for Falcons, actually, let's rewind it a little bit. Let me slow it down a tiny bit. Before you gave him the talk, Falcons' performances, it was none other than 18th, 19th, and 9th place. After your talk, it was 6th in first place. Falcons, if you want to sign a coach, I mean, you got him right there on the screen.
Yeah, man, send the contract, man. Come back,
Că tu oricum o să te auzi pe încet.
Păi dacă ai dat ăsta prea tare broadcast-ul. Ce fac frătăi ăsta? Cine este cea? Cine? Păi spot ăsta n-avea moderator junior.
Cum? So a conversation that I kind of had when we saw Shxrk and Teeny dominate after the first 2-3 games was that everybody else had to be worried about the momentum that they were doing. You want a team that you have to be worried about when they start to pick up momentum?
Da, mă, nu știu, chat, cred că cel mai bine ne auzim după cu live-ul, că n-ai rost să țin live-ul așa amărât.
Și-o scos drepturile? Sau nu mai?
Că mai țin eu live-ul până plec și când plec și aia e, bro.
What?
Când plec, închid și live-ul și aia e, oricum.
Portrays a statement. But really, you only need top 7 today to make it out of the groups.
Yeah, they went from being 17th place all the way
No, așa e cel mai bine, chat.
Nice. I like that number a lot more than 17th.
Când mă sună mecanicul și aia e. Când mă sună mecanicul, am plecat și eu, bro.
One team that has been consistent so far throughout the day is ROC, which is currently sitting in 3rd place with 161 points.
I'm happy that you kind of brought them up because there are certain teams, whenever we do watch Fortnite competitions and we take a look at the leaderboard, we're like, wait a minute, how are they so far? We really haven't seen anything crazy from them today. We haven't really been talking about them today. I feel like that's Hari and Cammy here. I feel like we really haven't just seen anything too crazy, just leading right into that play style that Cammy loves to play. I mean, take a look at top 3 specifically. Take a look at the eliminations. How much more first and second place have than Hari and Cammy, but they are still up there with them.
Ai venit un Q, am venit, bro. A ieșit tot de oameni că am plecat eu. Dacă am plecat eu, au ieșit 40 de oameni, 50 de oameni. That's crazy, bro.
to Cammy and Hari. It feels like for quite some time.
Când vin de la mecanic, nu mai fac live chat când vin de la mecanic.
Sort of talk about Cammy in a way that was like, yeah, Demon Shandama, the new best Polish in the region, right? They're going to be the new face of Polish Fortnite. Cammy and Hari have said, no. We're still here, and they're showcasing that.
Ai insistit la gift, ai insistit și la live pick. I-am tăisit doamne mai devreme.
He does have that LAN experience. He is the 2022 Invitational, although that was many years ago. Being able to have that LAN understanding, know what the meta is with inside the tournament is what can turn things around for you, and that's why they're doing so well.
I think it just comes down to them having a great coach, great consistency, that always have a excellent mid-game plan that they know exactly what they're going to do, and it's paying off so far.
It is paying off for them. It's not paying off for some of those teams currently in that second page that we need to see a lot more.
Da, n-ai să faci bă pic la TikTok. Adi să vă bă, nu o să învisat.
It's now or never for some of these squads, because if you are, especially for this duels, if you're in the bottom 3, those keys are going to be getting crushed. You're not going to get a chance to go to survival.
That being said, I mean, the halfway point is exactly the opportunity that a lot of these teams might need to actually turn around, because of course we are going to be switching maps now. So maybe just how the all spawn will be playing out just a little bit differently for all of our teams. Maybe that's enough. I mean, we do see the likes of like Alex and Reckless down there. I mean, Alex just consistently kind of makes it to these types of events. But also, you know, sometimes finding his way towards the bottom of the leaderboard as well. But we really do need to see him in finals.
And I mean, Slurp Rush, a lot of these teams do prefer Slurp Rush over Elite Stronghold.
Ele văd cât o să e mai
changes. There's probably some strategies that these teams go into with a specific map in mind. So I would love to see if we're going to be seeing some different kind of strategies of aggression or maybe even passivity that we didn't see in the earlier map.
Yeah, I don't want to make everything about the Falcons duo, but when you look at Pete and Boyo, I think it gets scarier for the lobby. I think they're a much better Slurp Rush team. I think when you look at just the amount of shield available, the amount of loot available to them when they're playing Slurp Rush just means they're able to just recover games a lot better. And so, again, scary prospect for the rest of the lobby.
Especially with the way that they've been performing on those last 2 matches. One team that has definitely slowed down here, Kelly, has been Team Orchid. We saw them being able to get that win, but the duo has slowed down massively.
I don't think that's necessarily too much to speak on the other players. I think that's based on what everyone else is doing around them. I think that they have 5 more games to go going into this, and that there's not going to be too much of an issue for what they have in mind, but just everyone else seems to be kind of stepping up. We also saw specifically in that last game, almost every single one of our top teams go down early, and that's why we saw the leaderboard shift a little bit from 1st and 2nd place.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually want to bring up a point, since we are going to be talking about Team Orchid. They did drop down to 9th place, but here's the thing. I mean, they're actually only 7 points behind 5th place. So how close that qualification spot is, just simply between 5th and 9th place. I mean, the leaderboard is starting to kind of develop a theme here, where I feel like a lot of the teams around 7th place and that qualifying spot, it's going to get a little crazy.
I agree. I think it's
exactly
what we expected out of the competition.
Bă, cât mai vorbesc ăștia, bă, frate.
I think we've seen from some of the smaller region teams, they're not just here to participate. Like, they are here to try and take over. And there's quite a few. I'm looking at the Vitan again.
Yes.
At the end, I don't think we have the replay of it, but
Salută Marius, mi-ai pe live-ul.
Bubbling in the water. I forgot what player it was, but they open up their edit thinking, yeah, this is easy pickings. And he just hits like a left-hand peak bubbling in the water shot. I'm like, oh my goodness, I've not seen people like play at this level from, you know, Brazil in quite some time. These guys, again, the talent is just so clearly there.
Romero just being a shark.
100k like-uri pe TikTok, oh my god, bro, W.
Waiting for the right moment to strike.
Pauză de 25 de minute. Păi hai să mai dăm niște PG-uri, chat. Să mai dăm niște PG-uri. Voi ce ziceți? Follow back la locul unde la tap dacă ai dovadă cum era cu vechi de pe shop pe cont. Hai să încea niște 1v1 să ai. Fereau apoi în Venice. Bun, putem da 1v1, dau cu cine îmi dă invite, chat. What? Te apare că l-a luat de pe shop, vedeți? Interesant. Păi ok, și dacă îmi pun Iris, se loc aici și Shxrk nu s-a terminat încă, bro. Să faci și screenshot la locul 1, rege. Eu cred că înseamnă că l-a cumpărat de pe shop, nu că e pe shop. De asta cred că l-a cumpărat de pe shop, nu că e pe shop, eu. Păi știu, bă, că skin-ul din starter pack pink. Dar starter pack-ul ăsta a fost în sezonul 5, bă. Hai zic că... Eu cred că ea apare așa că l-a luat de pe shop, gen, starter pack-ul, așa mă gândesc. Bă, am înțeles de ce am așa mai delay, bă. Mamă, da, Venis. Dau niște pump, dau niște misuri. Hai, Venis, să dăm. Minim, să fac ca ceva mai delay. De ce am delay? De ce am delay? Că am window full screen, bro. N-am mers să apăs pe semn. Mă faci la turneu. Bă, da, dar nu prea mai joacă meciul la turneu. Vreau să mai joacă meciul la turneu, bro. 200 m-am luat. Să te descurci cu un control la un avion. Păi dacă mă bat cu tine, mă bate de după 30 pe aici. Și dacă mă joc cu orice alt controller normal, poate îl bat, poate nu mă bate, nu știu. Poate îl bat, poate mă bate. Acum trebuie să iei în calcul că mă mișc și foarte prost, că m-am jucat de 2 săptămâni. Adică da, vezi că dau miss-uri, da, vezi că nu dau edituri bune. Mă mișc foarte slab că n-am mai jucat 2 săptămâni. GG's, bro, am dat 1v1 cu persoane de la prieteni, York. Tu ce mai faci, bă, că te-am auzit de mult pe live. Ia, că apăs pe shop. Aha, view outfit in shop. Bro, Venis, ia uite-te. Ia uite-te la mine dacă mi-apare... Dacă mi-apare la fel cu shop-ul, la skin-ul ăsta. De pauză nu știu, bro. E ceva, cred că vreo 15 minute, bro, de pauză. Am fost pe cam mult timp din țară, în vacanță sau... La job? Adică cu ce ocazie a fost plecat? Mamă, dar ai 46 de oameni, bro. Nu cred că se mai uită nimeni deloc. Nu ți apare. Interesant. Acum activitate W. Bun. Nu-ți apare că nu-i pe shop? Oare? Sau că l-am cumpărat back in the day? Îți dă 800 de V-Bucks acum. Wow. Pe o Lil Tech avea. Mama, cred că mi-au și eu Fortnite Crew. Lil Tecuța. Lil Teca. Îi să pună skin de pe shop. Nu știu dacă e Ivan. Ivan skin veniți care e pe shop acum? Ăsta, ok. Uite, am eu, îmi pun Hana, ia fi atent. Dacă îmi pun Hana, ți apare la fel? Îți apare cu shop-ul lângă nume? Chiar sunt curios, bro. Apare, da, ok. Nice. Bun, în timpul a venit, sege. Mai dați-mi cea request să mai dă niște one-v-ones. Mai dă niște one-v-ones. Mamă, dar ține turneul ăsta până mult. Ține până târziu, bro. Dacă abia s-a terminat primele... Mamă, 20 de minute și au trecut. Mai sunt 3 minute până la 1006. Dacă a început la 4 3 ore să joace 5 meciuri, bro. Pe ăsta mai ține. Ho. Cred că mai tragem o tură, bro. Uite, lui Dani nu-i apare, bro, cu shop-ul. Interesant. Secura ce știe. Ia stai să mă pe și chat-ul ăsta. Bă, dar ce mă dor ochii, bă, să mor, eu nu mai pot, bro. Vei ia la mine în party să ne jucăm cu fata de la CNF Nico, nu joc, bă, da, este pop, dar jucați-vă voi, distracție plăcută. Oricum nu mai țin un live-ul. Oh, mahani. Mamă, poate după, bă, dacă joci și pe Fortnite, eu da, bro. Eu mi-ești foarte ciopi, așa că am jucat de 2 săptămâni, că am fost plecat. Toată planeta am fost plecat. Făcut în conjurul lumii. Mă șugă. Ia, 3, 2. Mamă, 91 în cap. Bong. A arătat open shot. Bă, am dat 91, băi, Chris, băi. A fost nebună toată planeta și a fost la Bulgari. Hai că și tu ai fost la Bulgari, mă, Chris, da, vedeți. Hazul tot, ai fost cu avionul. Ce se mai întâmplă? Nu se mai întâmplă nimic, bro. Mamă, bă, Chris. Eu mi-am luat restricție la live. Tu cum ai găsit live-ul? Cum ai descoperit live-ul, bă, la prietenii? Bă, mă joc, aveam 300 de oameni plus. Am avut așa că am vrut o oră, 300 de oameni pe live. După mi-a luat o restricție, mi-a anulat vizibilitatea 10 minute, după aia mi-a luat restricție full. Că fac view party și practic mă uit la... Mă uit eu pe YouTube, auzi. Eu mi-au grifat ăștia de la TikTok cel mai bun live pe luna asta. Te pup, bă, aici. Cine mai vrea să joace, bă, o 1v1s? Sume de astea mai, mamă, filme de astea, orete rău. Eu ți-am dat, nu știu, activ și ăla. Cine o fi? Bă, chiar epic. Bă, da, abia aștept să termin examenele. Faci niște meciuri, băgăm. Hai, că mai e puțin. În septembrie, când e lumea back to school, te ești back to Fortnite. Da, mă, sper să fie sezonul ăsta nou, mișto. M-am uitat la Spider-Man Brand New Day. Păi da, voi știați că Spider-Man Brand New Day a trecut de 2 miliarde deja? Păi, a trecut deja de 2 miliarde. Box office. Păi, e real. Și eu nu credeam, bă, este maxim așa, vreo 200-300 de milioane, așa. Bă, și eu m-aș așteptam la ceva mai mult. Dar, așa, overall a fost un film bun, pe lângă ce au scos ăștia în ultimele filme. Și ca să nu dau leak, York, dar tu o să-ți dai seama... O să-ți dai seama despre ce vorbesc. Legat de scena aia cu piscina. Bă, și-a luat respectivul personaj din piscină. Bă, niște filme de alea pe aurite. Deci luați niște filme de alea pe aurite. Un ego de la pe aurit. Că se credea respectivul personaj, cine știe ce... Bă, du-te bă de aici, bă. Păi personajul ăla când n-avea ce mânca, Spider-Man o dădea cu Thanos. Filme de alea, uite. Ei nici nu mai sunt foc. Bă, nu zic să nu ți spoiler, bă, că poate vrei să te uiți la film. Mamă, dronele României. Sunt eu cu băiatul ăsta, Alfi. Fără hate. Mie nu mai place chat Marvel-ul. Înainte era mai mișto, acum mi se pare bullshit. Nici la cinema nu mai vine să merg. Am văzut filmul. Ok. Alifie. Nu știu, bă. Mamă, dar ce jali joc. Filmul Minecraft, da. Sensorul Shxrk, bă. Sebi, dacă cumva ești din ăla de player care schimbă sensul la 2 săptămâni, să știi că nu o să vezi mai improvement. Nu te mai duci mai la mecanic, o să mă duc, bă, dar că mă sună el când să vin. Bă, dar mă se pare că mă mișc foarte slab, eu. Să mai zic de ping. Nu poți să cred de edit așa. Wow. De ce să nu mai mai eu cum am Mercedes-ul, bă? Bine, deși... Dacă ți-ai vii ocazia la jinde, că nu mai place. Vreau altă mașină. Una care să nu mănânci atâția bani. Vorba asta înseamnă că nu azi. Ba nu. Că am mai bine cu el să-mi fac o skin antigel. Mamă. Bă, ce-i bă delay-ul ăsta, mă, că mă joc în 4000 ping, bro. Și-ar fie unul mai bun ca altul. Bă, mă enervează voi jocul ăsta. Când pui TikTok-ele de la CNF, m-ai întrebat toată, bă, Darius. Ți-am explicat că nu le postez eu, că nu-i contul meu și că sunt filmate pentru pagina de la Gaming, bro. Bro, n-am mai jucat de 2 săptămâni, bro. Chris, cum vrei să joc, bro? Cum să joc, n-am mai jucat de 2 săptămâni.
not catching a break here. You're coming into this game in 6th place and then you don't get that first elimination. That's a slow way to kind of start things off. But Chino and Pablo are fighting like they have something to win here, and I like what I'm watching.
Mamă, ce l-am în cap ăsta.
Sphinx puts up a good defense, but
not quite enough.
Ping. Slide kick there, really nice actually from Chino, one of the most aggressive players.
Nu mai jucat de 2-3 săptămâni să mă temei la târziu cu... Vorbeam acum ceva timp de cu școala, nu?
Big moments here for Shxrk and Teeny. We've seen them have a little bit of a wobble here. They've lost that top spot. Vico Malapuka slowly starting to come back into the competition. So Shxrk and Teeny really have a lot to answer for here.
If you really think about it, and this is a worst case scenario for them, dropping a game out of the first coming into this one, Dirty Dots triple contested, it kind of does put a question on whether or not Shxrk and Teeny can maintain the momentum. They sort of had an easy first half if you think about it. This next half might be pretty tough.
It's going to be interesting.
La un event, nice.
The map, how everything goes down. I think Shxrk and Teeny really there can be really happy with how they sort of played that dirty dots. They were the team that were healthy. They're the team that are alive. A lot of the other duos in that sort of area were wounded. They were down to one individual. So definitely something to keep an eye out for, as well as we take a look at Peterbot.
Că în viața reală, dacă taci dreapta de volan, nu stai dreapta de volan, nu se gândește puțin serverul. Și nu-ți bagă update de la mașină în mașină update ca atunci când cași până să-ți accelereze puțin, știi? Adică jocul ăsta burit.
See what they're going to do, playing a little aggressive now, looking for the little side angle here. Steamy Stacks does seem to have a pretty high contestation right now. All in all, though, pacing seems to be going pretty well. Here's a team, though, they have to really step it up now.
Yeah, they do, yeah. It's lots of answers needed for this duo, currently sitting right at the bottom end of the leaderboard. So this fresh map change might play into their favor. A fresh slate, clean new start for these final five games. Some of the teams that are further down.
Nici știu, bă, mai uit la meciul ăsta și după aia cred că am tăiat-o, bă.
That's what they'll be asking themselves. If they can do it, why can't we? And it's a lot of those sort of smaller region teams that do need to have a little bit of a comeback here. Pablo Wingu fighting off spawn a lot over at Dirty.
Dacă nu mă sună până se termină meciul ăsta, nu știu ce fac. Bă, faza e că nu durează mult chat să-mi fac în schimb de antigel. 15 minute până la mecanic. Lasă Edi, lasă așa, bă. Lasă așa. Încă vorbesc cenzurat. 15 minute până la mecanic, 10 minute să ricească puțin motorul că se ridică apa. 10 minute să scoată antigelul ăla din el. Deci nu știu. Încă 10 minute maxim să-mi pun antigelul nou. Atât.
Meanwhile, Cringe and Voco in a tough position. You have Izzy kind of insight here in the distance. He's debating whether or not he wants to fight. Meanwhile, Pump Epic Whale. Again, they have a really difficult time ahead of them. If you get eliminated,
eu cu ce sunt bad boy, bro? Ai secție de la TikTok. Cât e Shxrk? Pe locul 2. Bottom 3 pleacă acasă, by the way. Îmi pare rău de tine că ai de la 300 de oameni 16, bă, pentru mine aceeași poveste, bro. Bă, uite la mine, Sebi. Am aceeași vibe și cu 300 de oameni, și cu 30, și cu 300, și cu 3000, și cu 300.000. N-am nicio treabă, bro. Ia vezi play-ul. Mai bedeam cu live-ul. Iceberg cu negru e un item adăugat recent, Iorg. Opa, mă sună domnul mecanic. Veiți?
Classic Teeny lurk right there, something that he's definitely used to doing over on EU and now doing it here on the global stage. Booga and Braze were bruised.
Da, băi, chat, ce să vă zic?
Fully knocked, so I think it looks as though
vechiul se va întoarce mâine pe live la 10. Dacă vreți să vă uitați, bro, Teeny cu Shxrk cred că o să cam moară în pare de ei, sper să facă foarte bine, bro. Chat, cam asta a fost live-ul, bro. O să mă duc la mecanic. 10:30 dimineața, 10:30. Jucăm Minecraft împreună, Roblox împreună, faceți multe chestii mâine pe live chat. O să fie un live foarte mișto, neapărat să nu ratați. Vechi vână 2 pe shop pentru Battle Pass, dacă vreți să mă susțineți când îl cumpărați. Și ce să vă mai spun, bro? Vă pup. Sănătate, numai bine, numai bile. Aproape 200 de like-uri pe live-ul ăsta. Un live foarte bun. Facem și la finală, bro. Și ne auzim, bro, ne auzim. Doamne ajută, vă pup, mâine live la 10:30. Acum programez live-ul, cum am închis live-ul ăsta. V-am pupat.